the show who advertises. He's a divorce attorney. He comes in studio once a month to answer questions that people send me for him, divorce-related questions. So he comes in once a month. So he's coming in today. And then at 5:20, Brett Ciancia, who is a college football writer and covers the sport, he puts out a preview magazine every year, Pick Six Previews. He's coming on to talk college football at 5:20. So that's kind of the show plan today. And then that's kind of the plan. And then at the top of every hour, so coming up at 3 when the show starts, at 4 and at 5, I do a sports update with the latest, headlines.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And so. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. We're less than 3 out, so I'm going to flip over to air, and then I'll be ready for the update. All right, now 3 o'clock, Chad here. What's up? We start with the NFL. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan clarified today that he was at fault for the car crash a couple of weeks ago that left him with serious injuries. Said the crash happened when he reached down to grab his cell phone after it fell off his lap. Elsewhere, Baker Mayfield intends to play out the final year of his deal with the Bucs. He'll become a free agent after the season. Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter gets a 4-year extension, now the highest paid defensive tackle in football. And Jared Jones says competing for a title is not a reach for the Cowboys. From the NBA, Draymond Green returning to the Warriors on a 1-year deal. The Mariners hoping to get on track. They're at the Dodgers tonight. First pitch at 7:10. Luis Castillo on the bump for Seattle. Got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing coming up next. Edan Krolewicz from Rip City Not Rip Off at 3:20 for the latest on the negotiations with the Blazers in the city. And Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews, will join the show at 5:20. We got Hops Ticket Tuesday coming up at 5.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. Coors Light, cold as the Rockies. Please drink responsibly.
I went back, and as I always do this off season, I read some John Wooden, and one of the early things was that everything he says is so poignant. It's like you read his book and you highlight everything, and one of them was, don't lose sleep worrying about your competition. Let them lose sleep worrying about you. Funny story, I was sharing that with Kyle right about when Myles Garrett joined the Rams. And he was going, man, that's really cool. And as we were speaking, that came out, and Kyle said, you know what, F John Wooden. So
this might be the best team ever he's been on. Better than the Miami Heat team.
This has the most talent, I think.
Most talented. That's what I meant.
That is the most talented team he's ever been on.
It's not even close.
I'm listening.
1 through 5. If you look at their numbers, it's crazy.
And then you still have Anthony Simons. You still have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. That team is loaded.
This might be the best team ever.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, we got a packed show today and a lot of different things to get to. First off, Edan Krolewicz, who I enjoyed having in studio a couple of weeks ago. He is the man behind the website Rip City Not Rip Off. He's going to join us coming up here in 20 minutes, and I want to get his take on the latest between the Trailblazers and the city of Portland as they continue to work towards a resolution which will bring the funding that is required for the team to get the building renovated, and then also an agreement that will get that extended lease signed at 20 years and keep the Blazers here in town into the foreseeable future. That's what it's all about. And so Edan Krolewicz is going to join us coming up here in 20 minutes. And then at 4:20, our good friend Colin Amos from Goldberg Jones is going to be in studio to answer your questions. And then at 5:20, he joins us before every college football season. Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews will join the show, and we'll get his take on who's going to win the national championship, who's going to be in the playoff, who's going to win the title, what does he think about the Ducks, all of that with Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews. And I talked about this at the end of last week, but it's going to happen on Friday. Phil Steele, Mr. Steele, is going to join the show, and we'll talk about the college football Bible, and we'll get his take on the college football season, which is rapidly approaching. So Phil Steele on Friday, Brett Ciancia coming up at 5:20 today. And we also have Hops tickets to give away at 5. It's Hops Ticket Tuesday, and that means that we have a 4-pack of tickets for an upcoming Hops game where you can sit in the Rip City Radio row and be able to check out the brand new ballpark, which is spectacular. So we'll do that at 5 o'clock. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. Also, and we'll get to this a little bit later in the program, but I've got a very nice young man in studio who's hanging out, someone who went to school, studied communications, looking at sports journalism, and someone that has an interest in the job. So we're going to get him on. Liam Frobisher, who is nearby from Scappoose, is going to be joining me in studio and hanging out. Now, if you want to reach out to me, you know how to do so, 503-248-0620. That is the telephone number. 503-248-0620. You can jump on board, or you can reach out to me on social media. You'll find me there at Chad and Rip City. Also, I received a lot of messages over the last 24 hours, people thanking me for yesterday's tribute show to Craig Walker. I appreciate the kind words. It was great to have John Erickson in studio, who is just a fabulous human being, but also to remember the great Craig Walker, who is the gold standard for radio here in Portland. So thank you for the kind messages. Telephone number again, 503-248-0620. Now, I'll start with this. I have maintained the same stance throughout the entire process because people always are asking me now every day what I think about the negotiations with the Trailblazers and the city, because we're getting stories from both sides now. And I had mentioned that the rhetoric was going to continue to climb in intensity and it would start to get nasty on both sides, which it has done. But none of that has swayed me one direction or the other. I still believe that in spite of the rhetoric, that it's going to push both sides to the table and a deal is going to get done. I think the council will approve the funding, and that's going to put the whole package together for nearly $600 million for the Trailblazers to get the Moda Center renovations. And with that will come the 20-year lease extension, which will keep the team here into the foreseeable future. That's what I think is going to happen. I've believed that from the very get-go. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have some nasty things said from both sides through the course of a negotiation. We're talking about big-time dollars here. So I anticipated this, and it was something, a similar pattern to what took place in Raleigh when Dundon stepped in and took over the Carolina Hurricanes. So none of it is alarming to me. And really, what choice does the council have? And then once they approve it and the funding goes through, there's no way on God's green earth that the NBA owners are going to walk away from free money. That would be a very bad precedent to set. Also, if you go through the entire negotiation process and you get the approval only to have the owner step out and try to move the team, then you'd be negotiating in bad faith, and that would set a bad precedent. And it could damage the relationship of the governors and potential future sites, because they're like, hey, we saw what happened in Portland. How do we know you're going to, not do that to us, that you're going to negotiate in good faith? They're not going to walk away from free money. They're just not going to do it. And more importantly, I think that Adam Silver wants to have a team in Portland, wants a team in Seattle to have that Northwest part of the map wrapped up, and then you've got the I-5 rivalry. So I do think it's going to get done. Now, what people, I think, are confused about, and I've said this before, that I think a deal is going to get done, and when it comes to Tom Dundon, most of the press surrounding him has been negative. I've never seen anything like it, like a 3-month run of just constant negative headlines. I'm just not going to judge an individual and the job that they're doing over the course of a 3-month stretch. I just can't do it. I think we need more time to be able to know exactly what he's about, how he's going to operate, the decisions that he's going to make. And then over the course of time, based on the decisions that are made, we'll be able to better evaluate what type of an owner he's going to be, what type of decisions that he makes, and whether or not that moves the team in the right direction to hopefully compete for a championship. Now, do I like some of the layoffs and the staffing changes? No, because I would desire that everybody keep their job. No one likes to see people get laid off. And I think what happens on the broadcasting side, where I'm closely connected because I'm friends with each and every one of them. Kevin Calabro is a great man. Jamie Hudson is a wonderful person. Michael Holton is a good friend. I know each and every one of them. So to see people be laid off or not come back or not asked to come back or not have their contract renewed, I don't like it. Of course I don't. But Tom Dundon owns the team. He is free to make the decisions that he believes is best for his business. And over the course of time, we'll see whether or not those decisions are the right ones or not. And as I mentioned before, I'm a radio guy. So any type of tinkering with or lack of funding or investment in radio, I'm never going to be cool with it because I have romantic feelings for radio. But what I'm most focused on is this negotiation, because the most important thing that needs to go down is to have the funding approved, get the Moda Center renovated, and most importantly, get that extended lease signed so the Blazers remain here in Rip City into the foreseeable future. Now, if they're just negotiating in bad faith and his whole intention is to move the team, and that's what proves to be true, then I'll change my tune, because that would infuriate me. But I don't believe that that's the case. And I think what could be happening too, and I've talked to some people about this, but you have Tom Dundon, who is a billionaire. He's kind of a self-made man, very aggressive in negotiations, knows what he wants, has had great success just winning a Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes, and he comes from Texas. I think part of the issue is you have someone from a different part of the country in a different culture coming to Portland, Oregon, where we have a certain way of life here, the way we communicate, the way we deal with people. And Tom Dundon, I think, is just a little bit different, probably less concerned about what people think about him, maybe less concerned about people's feelings, because he's trying to get a deal done. And when you're in that position and you're focused on getting the best deal possible for yourself and the team, and you're willing to do whatever is necessary to make sure that happens, you're going to step on some people's toes, or you're going to say things that might be considered offensive. That's part of the process, and I'm okay with that. I also know that for Tom Dundon, I don't think he has like a PR staff. Like a lot of successful people, a lot of celebrities, even some billionaires. Like a lot of them have people around them, a PR staff or people to help craft the message, help them with the messaging so that when they come out and speak on important matters, that it's said eloquently. I don't think Tom Dundon has that staff. I think he just literally communicates freely based on exactly what he thinks. And I respect that, but some people don't like the honest, straightforward delivery. But the most important thing is just to get the deal done. The good thing is it looks like we're starting to get progress from both sides, from the Blazers and from the city, and that's what we'll talk with Edan Krolewicz about coming up here in 20 minutes. So I like where we're at. I think they're going to, be able to continue to move forward. Now we're starting to get some dialogue, and then you've got the all-important vote coming up on August 12th. So I like where they're at, but again, keep in mind it's a negotiation. And the rhetoric at times will get nasty, and there's a lot of finger-pointing going on. And that's okay, too, because it's all going to drive them to the bargaining table where a deal can get done. And once the deal gets done, we're going to benefit because Moda Center is going to be renovated, and that's a place where we spend a lot of time for basketball games and other events. And the Blazers will be locked in long-term here in Portland, which is where they belong. And that's a good thing. And then, like I said, with Tom Dundon, I'm just going to give him more time. You guys can say and feel however you want to feel and say whatever you want to say. I don't care, and it doesn't bother me. But I'm just going to wait and give it a little more time before I pass judgment. I need more time to see what the decisions are like, how things continue to progress with the team, and to see if he can utilize that magic he showcased in the NHL, and if it applies to the NBA, and if he can turn this team into a winner. Because in the end, as a Blazers fan, if I take my radio hat off and I just focus on being a fan, as I've told you before, what are you doing to try and win a championship, and are you all in on that process? And if you are, then I'm probably going to be okay with you. Or at least I'm going to be able to overlook some of the rough edges if you're focused and determined and you're utilizing your resources to put your team in a position to compete for a title. And as I've mentioned before, I'm not greedy. I just want one title to celebrate together with all of you before I die. I don't feel like that's asking for too much. How about one championship? And then the people who are alive or old enough to remember the title in 77, they can enjoy both of them. And then I can have one that I can remember and enjoy myself. All right, Edan Krolewicz coming up next. We'll talk with him, get the latest on the negotiations. A 4-pack of tickets for the Hops coming up at 5. And we'll talk college football with Brett Ciancia of Pick 6 Previews at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, this guy is one of my new favorite people. He is the man that put together the website Rip City Not Rip Off, and he was kind enough to spend a couple hours in studio with me a couple of weeks ago and talk about the negotiations between the Blazers and the city of Portland, and we continue with that. And joining us once again from Rip City Not Rip Off, Edan Krolewicz. Edan, thanks for coming back on the show, my friend.
What's up, Chad? Good to see you, man. Good to hear from you.
No, it's great to talk to you, and a lot of things are going on, but I guess in general, what it would look like to me over the last few days, it looks like we're starting to get some more productive dialogue on both sides compared to the nasty rhetoric and the finger pointing that we saw, just a week and a half ago. So what's your overall take on what you're seeing right now from both sides?
Yeah, I think last time we talked, you and I were both kind of saying, like, look, this is kind of, ugly negotiations, but kind of what we both expect. I think when Quick came out, Jason Quick came out with his article yesterday, that definitely got things humming, right? They definitely got some I'm assuming that something happened in the league where basically 45 minutes later after he released it, the Blazers called up and said, hey, actually, we're contemplating maybe coming to the session on Thursday. So not exactly sure what contemplating that means, but it definitely sounds like both sides are starting to de-escalate.
All right, if you can help for people who maybe don't understand the process, what exactly do you expect from the session on Thursday? What's the main purpose behind it?
So it's basically it's the time for the city councilors to say, look, these are the guidelines, like these are the types of things we want in there. They don't necessarily need to give the numbers, right? So they're not saying like, look, we need $150 million in capital contributions or blah, 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 blah. All they're saying is we expect there to be some, they set the categories. Like we expect there to be rent or, capital contribution or some kind of, labor peace agreement or, high level things. And then that allows the negotiators to go from August 12th until that kind of December 17th deadline and actually nail out the details and decide what they're going to trade off, right, during the negotiation.
That's terrific. And one thing that was nice as well, we had the original proposal from the chair of the county commissioners was for $88 million that would ramp up to roughly $100 million or just over the life of the entire lease. And then they had the proposal to reduce the county payment to about $53 million plus that $12 million additional over the life of the lease. But with the conversations that took place, like you had mentioned, it looked like they found a solution to that, got it back to the original number of 88 plus 12 because they, have a plan to use a car rental tax to replenish the general fund. And that sounds like something that could work for everyone involved.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting. Mayor Wilson was on CityCast, there's another podcast today, and he basically said that, NBA and the NBA, Tom Dundon, reached an understanding in March about what a market rate Moda Center deal would look like. And he said that, Portland's draft term sheet reflects what was agreed to ostensibly in March, is what he said. So I think it's obviously it begs the question, what was agreed to in March? I think a lot of people have that question of like, hey man, if you promise something to Dundon, it's justified that he feels like if something is promised to him, and that's what he wants, right? So I think all of us deserve to kind of know what was promised in March. And I think most importantly, the city councilors should know because they're the ones in charge of deciding, what the expectation is, going forward. But to your point about the county, it sounds like maybe the reason why they kind of brought that back is maybe they had a conversation. Again, I'm speculating here, but maybe they had a conversation with the NBA or other folks, and maybe those folks said, look, the number is the number. We got to commit to it. We can figure out the terms later, but we have to commit to that whole number. So that's my kind of take on maybe why that number came back.
You mentioned the NBA. What role do you envision Adam Silver plays throughout this process? Is he trying to help both sides? Obviously, he's going to support Tom Dundon because his job is ultimately to help the owners. But do you think he's helping assist and, grease the wheels on both sides to help get a deal done?
I think so. I mean, I think his preference would be to be as low touch as possible, right? He doesn't want to get involved unless he absolutely needs to. And I think, when he starts to see that things are looking bad for the NBA, I mean, I think the last several stories nationally, I think, Bill Simmons was talking about the Blazers and everything else. So I think the tide was kind of turning on Tom Dundon, and it was starting to look bad for the NBA, and so he had to step in. But I think generally he wants to just, what he really cares about is just the arena renovation happens and the lease gets signed. That's all he cares. Who gets what money, I think, matters less to him. but obviously he wants to see it done, and I think he wants to see the Blazers, committed to the city for a long time.
Well, one thing we've seen over the last couple of weeks is both sides really trying to negotiate, in the public forum, using their people in the press. So I'll ask you this. We know Dundon is ruthless with negotiations, and he's willing to push this to whatever level he needs to get a deal done. How do you think the city should continue to respond as they move forward?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is Portland City Council should not try to play chicken with Tom Dundon. I think that's a game that he's very good at playing. But what I've always been saying is all the city council needs to do is put out a fair term sheet that's defensible, right? That's based on data from other arenas, based on what other arenas got from capital contributions and rents and all those things. So, put out something that is right smack dab in the middle, some average deal, and put it on the table and make it public, right? And then he has to respond back to that, right? The last thing that the city council wants to do is just go, have Tom Dundon play all the different parties against each other, which is kind of what he's been doing, and he's been successfully doing that. So I think I want to see the city, county, and state be more unified in their approach of asks, come together, put one credible offer on the table that says, we support renovation, we support the public investment, we want the Blazers to stay, and here are the terms that earn our vote. Here's the price of yes. And I think if they can put that out there, and make it public, then I think we can have a discussion. And the last part is, I think that a really important part that we should talk about that probably doesn't get enough airtime is we should classify what it is that we're getting, right? So even though Dundon hasn't shared any of the project details with the city can still classify what renovation types they're willing to pay for. So example, I say there's kind of 3 tiers of renovation items that should be classified. Tier A would be core public asset, so the roof and other things. B would be kind of a shared modernization, so things that affect both the team and the city. And the last thing is category C is this team exclusive or only revenue generating improvements. So only things that are making more money specifically for Tom Dundon. And it's my take that the ownership should fund 100% of that. And I think that should go on the table in the term sheet in August, this kind of categorical term sheet that defines what types of things we can do. You can make that ask even without having all the data. You can just say, look, we'll fund the things that keep the stadium upright and good and green and all that good stuff. And your job is to fund anything that makes you money or at least share in that revenue with the city.
So you're anticipating potentially a productive session on Thursday?
I think Thursday will be productive. I'm hopeful it will be productive, and I'm hopeful the Blazers show up and the city councilors can ask reasonable questions, data-driven questions that they've been wanting to know. We'll see to the degree that the Blazers are willing to answer on Thursday, but I'm hoping that it will be productive, yeah.
We're talking with Edan Krolewicz from Rip City, not Rip Off, here on the Rip City Drive. All right, over the last couple of weeks since we last met, what are the main questions that you've been getting or thoughts from Blazer fans that maybe you need to clear up? What are some of the stuff you're getting on your end?
Yeah, I think a lot of the people are still making this kind of binary, do you want the renovation to happen or not? And I think, as you and I talked about, I'm pretty sure every single city councilor and every commissioner in the county and every single person that I've talked to is down to do the renovation, right? Not one person that I've spoken to is we will not do this renovation under any circumstance. Or even, I don't think anyone has even said Tom Dundon has to pay for 100% of it. So I have not heard that from anyone. So I think that's the biggest thing that we should understand. And there's a lot of groups coming out that are supportive of this, and I think that's great. I think there's a business coalition that came out. But the question we all need to ask is what's the price of yes, right? An interesting question that I think we should all ask ourselves is, suppose Tom Dundon agreed to stay for 20 years no matter what. How much should Portland pay then? Right? Let's imagine he said that. I'm staying, right? Then how would we do that calculation, right? What would we say is a fair deal? right? And so, again, once we take that renovation, that relocation threat off the table, now we can actually have a meaningful conversation about what does a public-private partnership look like, and what are the terms that make it feel like a real public-private partnership.
You just brought up an interesting point, Edan. If Dundon were to come out and say, hey, I'm not going anywhere, the team's going to stay in Portland, I just need to get a deal done so we can renovate the arena, would that be better for him, or would it make the situation worse for Dundon?
I mean, I think he would see it as giving away leverage, right? And I think he's a person who obviously wants to maintain that, and I don't foresee him removing any of that leverage until the last minute. And plus, this December deadline, I think the bet that he's making is that this is going to be more stressful for the city councilors and the commissioners and the state than it's going to be for me, because I can just sit back and wait till the last minute, which is what he's done in a lot of his other negotiations, right? And the way he hired Mike Inori and the way he's negotiating a lot of different things, in Raleigh. So I think this is kind of his MO, is like, I'm gonna maximize my leverage until the last minute, and I don't expect that he will do anything differently.
What was your reaction to the decision with the broadcast side of things, especially with Kevin Calabro?
Man, I'm a huge Kevin Calabro guy. I mean, all the calls he made. I mean, I actually just became a fan of the Blazers about 10 years ago. So my era is the Kevin Calabro era, so it was tough, man. It was tough to see him go. I do hope that he continues in Seattle and does amazing things, and I will always cherish the games that he broadcasts. He would make a regular season game feel amazing, and sound amazing. So I'll definitely miss KC. But I'm also, enthusiastic for whoever comes into the job, and whoever's going to take that over, I'll root for them and hope that, hope they do great.
All right. So it sounds like you're still in the same place I am. It hasn't changed, right? That this is all going to move towards the two sides coming together, getting an agreement done, and the renovations taken care of so the Blazers can get that extended lease signed. Like, I really believe it's going to happen. Where are you at now?
Totally same boat as you. I think it's going to happen. The question is just like, how strong will the term sheet categories be on August 12th? I think that's the question that people are interested in. Is it going to come in really weak with no economic asks at all, or are they going to make all the asks? And again, this is non-binding. So whatever happens in August, there's no hard, fast numbers. But so in my mind, it's just like, what does the city have to lose by just putting all the categories out there and then letting the negotiators choose what they want to play with, right? Like if you don't put it in the term sheet, then Tom Dundon absolutely doesn't even have to consider it, right? Nobody has to consider it. So it's my stance that they should put it all in the term sheet. Everything that's defensible, everything that other teams have gotten, and then give the negotiation team maximum leverage to go forward. So on Thursday, we'll find out, did the city actually put everything on the table, or did they basically just give Tom Dundon a layup, and this is just going to be a March to December, just to get it done.
Edan Krolewicz, he is the man behind Rip City, not Rip Off. You got to check out the website, super sharp, and he's been all over this story. Hey, Edan, what we'll have to do after this session on Thursday, we need to reconnect and have you back on the show, because I can't wait to get your thoughts after we hear what they have to say. And I got to be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of city council meetings, but I did tune in last Thursday and watch the discussion. It was maddening at times, but watching the whole process play out was fascinating too.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I've been in it pretty deep, so I may see some things that other people don't. But I think the city council meeting will be very exciting. I think as far as city council meetings go this year, this may be the most exciting one. So definitely tune in.
All right, Edan, I appreciate your time. You're the man, and I look forward to talking with you here over the next few days.
Appreciate you, Chad. Talk to you soon, man.
You got it. There's Edan Krolewicz from Rip City, not Rip Off. Really appreciate his thoughts. So that session's coming up on Thursday. The vote, of course, coming up on August 12th. And he's in the same spot that I am, that we believe that the process is going to continue to push towards both sides, finding common ground and coming to an agreement. So if you got any thoughts or any questions, or you just want to share what's on your mind, you can reach out to me at 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. And I have to admit, it's pretty exhausting. Every day it's something new right now. With the Blazers and the city, Tom Dundon, Staffing changes, like really exhausting. And that's why I'll be happy when they get the deal done and we know the Blazers are going to be here long term. So we can turn our attention to, I don't know, the team, basketball, games that are going to be played, how the Blazers are going to prevent straight line drives if they start Dame and Ja Morant together. You know, basic things like that. Talking about sports. But this is an important process. They need to get this done. And I think they will get it done. And then we don't have to worry about the Blazers leaving. And ultimately, right now, there's not a lot of options open. Even if Tom Dundon were dead set on getting the team somewhere else, there's not a lot of options on the table for him anyways. But I don't think that's the plan. I think that he is doing what he's best at, negotiating and doing so fiercely to get the best possible deal for himself and for the team. But in the end, it's all going to work out. But it was frustrating to watch that council meeting last Thursday. Like some of the discussion, and then you realize, like, man, these people were voted in. Like, seriously, like people voted for these people, and then you realize they really don't have a great grasp on sports or the importance of sports and what it means to us and what it brings to our community. I don't know. Crazy times. All right, 503-248-0620. Colin Amos in studio at 420 to answer your questions. You can reach out, 503-248-0620. You can jump on board. Hope you're enjoying this Tuesday afternoon. The weather has been spectacular. I've been playing an excessive amount of golf. I was out, I've been out everywhere. But today at Heron, I'll be back out at Forest Hills coming up this weekend and just enjoying the weather and the long days, which are terrific. So there's that. But now is the time to get out. In fact, I would encourage you, just go to golfforesthills.com. That's where you can book your tee times and check it out. But, you know, Marcus has been doing a great job with the course, and they got it set up wonderfully right now. And what I've been doing, I've been playing out there on the weekends, but if you get out there early enough, you can beat the crowd. Because the one thing I try to avoid, like the plague, is an afternoon round on the weekends where you're going to be out there for 5.5 hours. I can't do it. I don't have the patience for it. I'm used to weekday mornings on the course where you can move and move quickly. I just can't do the 5.5 hour round type of stuff. It doesn't work for me. And there you have it. I have not seen Odyssey yet. I talked to Travis Demers last night. He saw Odyssey. I know a couple of friends who have seen it. I got to be honest with you. I don't know much about the movie. I'm considering going to check it out just because so many people are talking about it. But I have not seen it myself. And I got to be honest with you, like Greek mythology was not one of my favorite, areas of study through school. It just wasn't. All right, 503-248-0620. When we come back, we're going to introduce a gentleman who's hanging out with me in studio today, Liam Frobisher. He's done with school. He's got a background in communications and journalism, so we'll talk with him. And Colin Amos is going to answer your questions coming up at 4:20, and you're free to call, 503-248-0620. And we got tickets for the Hops coming up at 5 right here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive. Your telephone number 503-248-0620. Well, this is kind of a nice treat today. Joel, who is the foreman leading the charge here for the renovations that are ongoing here at the building, and it feels like they're going to last forever. He reached out to me last week. I was like, hey, I've got a young journalism student that wants to come in and might enjoy checking things out, seeing the radio station from the inside out. I said, no problem. Bring him in. And he's in here right now. His name is Liam Frobisher, who is a fresh graduate from Eastern Washington University. He is from Scappoose. That's where he went to high school. He's in studio with me right now. Liam, welcome, man. What's up?
What's up? Thanks for having me.
No, it's great to see you. So Eastern Washington, I didn't go to school there, but I had friends that did. They said they loved it campus-wise and just the experience. How did you enjoy Eastern Washington?
There was lots of positives, lots of great people there, lots of great professors and friends I made along the way. The reason I went there, I was recruited to play wheelchair basketball. So I was a part of the adaptive athletics program, and unfortunately, the president and board of trustees just recently decided that they're cutting the program entirely. So that kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth and really showed me that the people in the upper administration and in charge don't really care about their students or what they have to say. They're just more focused on money.
Yeah, of course. Usually that's the way it is in every business, at iHeart, at Eastern Washington University, everywhere. But let's go ahead and tell people your condition. You were telling me about it, but you're bound in a wheelchair, and you're a great wheelchair athlete, which I think is awesome. I love the adaptive sports, but what's your condition? Why are you in a wheelchair?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with what's called transverse myelitis, which is an autoimmune disease. So when I was 12 years old, I woke up one morning before school, and my legs were kind of cramping, and my back started hurting, and then within an hour, everything from the waist down just went numb. And so it was completely unexpected, completely random. They did all sorts of tests on me. They couldn't really pinpoint, why it happened, but that's what they diagnosed me with. So they tried steroids and different treatments, but none of it really got function back. So I learned how to live life just without my legs using a wheelchair, and eventually became a wheelchair athlete. I fell in love with wheelchair basketball.
So that morning when your legs went numb, were you unable to walk after that, or was it a slow process?
Yeah, it was like literally within an hour, I went from like, oh, my leg's cramping to like, I literally can't feel or move anything below my belly button.
How scary was that?
It was really scary. And I remember I had a history project due that day at school, and I'm 12 years old. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'll go to the hospital, they'll fix me, and I'll go back in the middle of the day and do my history project.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, we're going to need to keep you at least 5 days for this treatment. I was like, 5 days? And then 5 days turned into 7 weeks of just learning how to do life. So it was a lot more of a bigger adaptation, I would say, like emotionally and socially, than it was physically, because, learning how to just do those simple things, get dressed, take a shower, pick stuff up off the floor, like that stuff that can be done. But to like go back to your friends and family and just like, I don't know, everything's so different. It was definitely strange.
That's a remarkable story. Did you notice that people, once you were in the wheelchair, did they treat you differently?
People that I already knew didn't, and I'm really glad they didn't. And sometimes it was harsh. I'd be at home, hey, Mom, can you give me a glass of water? Hey, little brother, can you go do this for me? And they're like, no, you can do things on your own. Like, we're not going to be your servants just because of this. So that really helped me grow and become independent. And then same with, my friends in middle and high school when we would play sports, play basketball in the gym, that kind of stuff. They're not going to go easy on me, let me score. And that's what really makes me feel loved, I guess, and makes me feel like I'm still the same person that I was and that I'll always be. Sometimes meeting new people, they'll treat you differently. They'll see the wheelchair. They'll assume you have some sort of cognitive disability, talk down to you, that kind of stuff. But that's something I've learned to just, correct in the moment.
That's awesome. Yeah, my grandpa had ALS, and so I never saw him walk. He was always wheelchair bound, but his mind was perfectly sharp, really intelligent, could communicate really well. He eventually lost his voice, but he would communicate via typewriter and stuff. But I think that was probably the thing that frustrated him the most, is that even though his body was failing him, his mind was something that was still razor sharp. And of course, for you, journalism, you're well-spoken, like you're able to utilize your mind, and I think that's probably a great thing.
Yeah, and I really like to, I would really like to be able to use my voice and whatever platform I end up having to be outspoken for not just myself, but other people in similar situations, and speak out for people with disabilities and especially disabled athletes, supporting the Paralympics. All that kind of stuff is stuff that I just love being a part of and love being an advocate for.
That's so cool. Now, adaptive sports, I've seen the wheelchair basketball, and it's a physical brand of basketball. The guys really get after it. But what are some of the other adaptive sports opportunities aside from just hoop?
So there's sled hockey, where people sit in sleds that have skates on the bottom and play hockey. That one's really fun. Rugby, there's rugby for quadriplegics. That's a big one. There's wheelchair softball, which I'm going to probably try out next year because I'm
there's wheelchair softball?
I love baseball. Yeah. So it's played on like a hard rubber field, I guess, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. Like with a lot of these sports, pretty much all the rules are the same. You're just using a wheelchair. Like for basketball, our free throw line's the same, our 3-point line's the same. The only difference is there's no double dribble. But besides that, like you've got to dribble the ball, you've got to shoot from the same distance. So it's not like a lot of people hear about that and they're like, oh, it's a bunch of Make-A-Wish kids, good for them. But it's like, no, we're like competitors, athletes. We're not here to inspire people, although that's a plus if we can, inspire a younger athlete with a disability to, pursue an athletic career. What we're doing is competing and trying to win.
Yeah, competition, I think, is important for all of us, right? Like getting your competitive juices going, being challenged by somebody else. I would imagine there's a lot of trash talk that goes on the wheelchair basketball court.
Yeah.
Right? Those things are all very healthy, right?
Right, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be in sport. It can be in other things as well, and then also including, not just people with physical disabilities, but anyone. So there are plenty of able-bodied people who play wheelchair basketball at the collegiate level, at high levels, and just bringing different communities together and kind of showing the world that, we're not so different.
Have you noticed over the course of time since you've been in the wheelchair that is your upper body stronger now in terms of your arms, your hands, and because you utilize those muscle groups all the time?
Yeah, definitely. Shoulders are a big part, and we do a lot of, throughout college, our coaches make sure we do a lot of, instead of like kind of heavy lifting and like muscle building, it's a lot of like stability and maintaining, because not only are we pushing on the court all the time, but some of us use wheelchairs throughout all day. And so we're on campus going up and down hills, going from building to building. We've got to maintain and protect our shoulders because we're using them all day, every day.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you have a car that you're able to drive?
Yes. My parents actually just helped me buy a new car, so thanks to them. But I have hand controls installed. So,
thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yes.
That's big time.
Yes, big graduation gift. So I have hand controls installed. So if it's a mechanism that's hooked up to the pedals, so if I push forward on it, it pushes the brake, and if I push down, it pushes on the gas. And then I have almost like a doorknob attached to the steering wheel to help me turn since I can't use both hands.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How hard was it to get used to driving that rig?
For me, it was how I learned how to drive. So it wasn't like going from driving quote unquote normally to driving that way. But I did have to go to like a special instructor because my parents were like, we don't really know how to teach you how to do this way. And the driver's ed at my school was like, we don't really know either. But it's fun. I love it. And I love when people come up and ask, they're like, well, how are you driving that? Like, and it's like, it's not that, to me, it's like second nature. It's not a big deal, but some people are so fascinated by it.
All right, that's great. Liam Frobisher's in studio. We'll have more with him. Colin Amos coming up at 4:20, and then we'll talk college football with Brett Ciancia at 5:20. You can reach out 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. It was up 4 o'clock. Chad here from the NFL. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan clarified today that he was at fault for the car crash a couple of weeks ago that left him in with serious injuries. Said the crash happened when he reached down to grab his phone after it fell off his lap. Elsewhere, Baker Mayfield intends to play out the final year of his deal with the Bucs and become a free agent. Eagles defensive tackle got paid. 4-year extension, now the highest paid defensive tackle in football. And good old Jera, owner of the Cowboys, says competing for a title is not a reach for them. From the NBA, Draymond Green returns to the Warriors, gets a 1-year deal. Mariners, hoping to get on track. They're at the Dodgers tonight. First pitch at 7:10. Luis Castillo gets the call for Seattle. Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews, will join us coming up at 5:20. Colin Amos in studio at 4:20 to answer your questions. And we got a 4-pack of tickets for the Hillsboro Hops coming up at 5. Just listen to me for your chance to win. All right, Rip City Drive. Very happy to have Liam Frobisher hanging out with me in studio, and he just corrected me during the break. I mean, I know it's hard to believe, but I said something that was a little bit out of line and inappropriate, but wheelchair bound is not the appropriate language. It's wheelchair user. And Liam, after you explained that to me, it makes a lot of sense. You use a wheelchair to be mobile and to get to different places, but you're not confined to a wheelchair because right now you're sitting in a studio chair so you can have enough height to be able to be in the YouTube camera.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously move out of the wheelchair to jump in bed. You can sit on the couch. You can do anything. You're not wheelchair bound. You're just a user.
Right. And there's, lots of things like that, lots of language that sometimes, you have to correct people on, but I'm never one to be like offended or kind of try to make people feel bad. I just like to educate and correct people on the different language and different attitudes that they might have, just because that's what they know, that's what they learned, that's what they were taught, and that's
you got my back, is what you're saying.
Right. Because most of the time, people aren't trying to be rude or offensive, and they just don't know the correct thing to say or correct thing to do. So,
well, this is something that's important, and because there's I know there's people out there, families listening that have been impacted by the type of situation you're going through. Your parents, in retrospect, handled it perfectly, right? Because one, they encouraged you and said, look, we love you no matter what, but you're the same Liam. You're going to be able to live your life to the fullest, even though you're using a wheelchair, but we're not going to help you do everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it seems counterintuitive because as a parent, I can understand the desire to want to be there to serve and help your child who's going through a traumatic experience who found out they're going to be using a wheelchair, and then go overboard with trying to feed you, bathe you, do everything for you. But by doing it that way, you learned how to do everything on your own. So you can be at college, you can be here in the studio. Like, you don't need me or anybody else to help you do the things that you do every day.
Right. Yeah. I can go to school. I can drive myself, my siblings, my friends' places, and all those simple things I can do. My parents are actually the ones who helped me get into adaptive sports too. I was really...
Oh, your parents did?
Yes. I didn't want to go to a wheelchair basketball practice. I was like, I don't know anyone. I don't know what it's going to be like. And eventually my mom and dad just made me. And I loved it. I was pretty good my first practice. I was still 13, so I could play on the juniors team. So I was like huge compared to all the guys on that team. And everyone embraced me right away. And it was cool because I wasn't seen as an athlete in a wheelchair. I was just seen as an athlete when I went there.
Yeah.
Which I guess that was my biggest fear is like, what are people going to think? How are they going to look at me? Is it going to look silly, me trying to compete and like be athletic and shoot hoops? But everyone there, it was second nature to them. And they brought me in real close right away. And that became a major part of my life is adaptive sports.
How hard is it to shoot threes from a wheelchair?
I don't know. Some people cheat. So some people that like have use of their feet, they'll slide their foot down and push off the ground, which is supposed to be a foul. It's illegal. But it differs for different people because people with all sorts of different levels of function play wheelchair basketball.
Yeah.
So for me, I was never like a 3-point specialist. That was Mike. Shout out Mike Lucas, a great teammate, great guy. But I mean, I can shoot them, I can make them, but corner threes are something that doesn't really exist in wheelchair basketball because if you dribble the ball to the corner, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Defense is a lot tougher to get past and move by because you got to get around a whole wheelchair. So
that's great. And I would imagine, so when you're wheeling on the court, you can have the ball in your lap, right?
You can, but once you start playing at higher levels, it's going to get stolen every time. So every 2 pushes, you've got to dribble. So that's something you've got to learn. I mean, just like able-bodied basketball, you've got to learn to dribble with 2 hands. You've got to learn to, bounce, stop, stop your dribble real quick, protect the ball, pass the ball, shoot the ball, all that kind of stuff.
Is there trash talk?
Oh, yeah, there's lots. One of my favorite ones is sometimes when newbies start, they'll wear gloves to protect their hands from blisters, and we always give them a hard time, make fun of them for wearing gloves, tell them they're soft, tell them they're babies. That's my favorite one to do. I played at the Spokane Hoop Fest, the 3-on-3, a few weeks ago, and
that place in Spokane?
Yeah.
That's a badass event right there.
It's huge. In
There's
the
so
wheelchair
many
basketball,
people there.
Yeah, and the wheelchair basketball division's just growing and growing. We had, I think, 16 adult teams this year in the bracket and 8 or 9 juniors teams. We had people fly out from University of Michigan, University of Arizona. It's getting huge, so to be able to represent there is really cool, and just the community in the hoops.
Did you get a scholarship for the adaptive sports?
I did not. EWU was not offering scholarships, just budget-wise, and now they're not offering anything. So, yeah.
I was asking Liam what his most difficult daily task is. You said it's putting on socks.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's difficult. Just the most kind of annoying change because I wear compression socks, so pulling them up and down, especially after the shower, sweating after a game, and it's like my teammates are like, "We got a dinner reservation, let's go," and I'm trying to, change my socks. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that. A lot of people think like, "Oh, that must be so difficult," or like that must make you so frustrated. But to me, it's been 10 years. It's like, that's just how I do it. Like, that's just how I take a shower is sitting down. It's like, that's just how I put my socks on is I bring my legs up to my lap and pull it up with my arms because I can't push my foot in. Like, that's just how I drive. I use hand controls and steer with one hand. Like, that's just how it is.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 2 younger brothers and a younger sister. So I'm 22. My brother Deacon is 20. My brother Jude is 15. And then 15 or 14. And then my sister is 13 or 14. I don't know. I was away for college for 4 years, so it gets fuzzy.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. That's good. So you're the oldest then.
Yes. And so I felt a lot of pressure too when this happened, when I was paralyzed. I was like,
to set an example,
be a role model for my siblings. Like, how do I show them that I'm strong and I'm brave and that, I can still do this, and that, like, I can't imagine if it was one of them. Like, I'm so glad it was me and not any of my siblings or my parents or other family. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I don't want to show weakness to them because they look up to me. But obviously, they love me and they let me know, like, it's okay to be upset or be unsure or have moments of weakness. Like, you're still our older brother. We're still going to make fun of you and we're still going to give you a hard time and all that kind of stuff.
That's good. And I'm sure you wouldn't want it any other way. So with your degree in communications, like, what are you hoping to do? Do you want to be like a journalist? Do you want to be in broadcasting? Like, what type of desires do you have?
Yeah, my dream is to be a sports journalist. I would love to work in the world of adaptive sports just to kind of showcase that more and spread the word and make it more known. But any sports in general, I love baseball, I love basketball, I love football. And to be a sports journalist would be my main goal. I love writing. I fell in love with writing in high school. Just sharing my own opinions and then also doing research to back up what I'm saying or what other people are thinking. And then to even write about stuff that I don't agree with or, opinions I don't share about, writing about, okay, this is what someone else thinks and this is why they think it and this is why I disagree. So yeah, and I recently baseball, football, and basketball are my big sports. But recently I just interned with USL Spokane, the Spokane Velocity and Zephyr. And so I got to see a lot of behind the scenes. I got to write the PA scripts for the announcers, work on the Jumbotron.
What is the USL?
United Soccer League.
Oh, United Soccer League.
Yes. So it's USL League One.
How'd you enjoy doing that work?
It was really fun. I was newer to soccer, so it was like I was doing all this like stuff behind the scenes, like communications wise, but then also like learning the sport, so I could eventually write the post game like summaries and write articles for the team. So I'm like learning this terminology and the rules while also learning like how to work the video board and how to communicate with these different departments and, you know, send these emails to different sponsors and all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Liam Frobisher is in studio. So who was the jerk that influenced you to become a Mariner fan? Because that's one of the most frustrating baseball teams on the planet to watch.
Yeah. It was my younger brothers. I grew up, my dad is an Oakland A's fan. So I grew up trying to be a fan of them, and then everything just fell to the floor. And I was like, okay, I'm going to Seattle because my brothers are fans and it's closer. We go to games every year. And I've loved it and hated it at the same time. I just went to a game a week or two ago where they played San Francisco and came back. So that was an exciting one to be at. But it's like, it feels like every game they leave runners on, they can't score, and it's just a disaster.
It's a disaster. Yeah, they frustrate the heck out of me.
Yeah.
They almost squeezed the life out of me last year, and then they, you know, revived me come playoff time. And right now it's just like, oh my gosh, it's the offense that kills me. Or the bullpen meltdowns or whatever, you name it.
Right. It's always one thing. They can never piece it all together, which is frustrating. I kid you not, the day when LeBron signed with Philly, my brother told me to check my phone. The first thing I see is Mariners are opening and trading Emerson Hancock. And I was like, what? Like, no, this is ridiculous. Why Hancock? Why? My brother's like, no, scroll down. And it's all the stuff about LeBron. So, but it's like, that's how invested I am in this team, is it's like, I don't know. I love watching it, and I love the intensity. And it's like the Seahawks too. They make all their games close and suspenseful, even ones that don't need to be, but it can be frustrating.
All right, Liam, what is, for someone that might be going through your process, who just found out that they're going to be a wheelchair user, like what advice would you give as they adapt to the new reality of their life?
Yeah, I would say continue to be yourself is the biggest one. Don't change your attitude or the way you communicate with other people, whether that be the people that you know and love or new strangers that you meet. And just be open to learning and know that stuff is going to take time. Like, things are going to take time and things might seem bad. Because I remember being in the hospital and thinking, like, if I'm never going to get better, like, my life is over. And now 10 years later, sitting here, I'm like, my life is better. Like, it didn't get worse. It just got different. Like, I'm here doing a radio show right now. Like, this is my dream. And, like, me using a wheelchair doesn't affect that at all. So just having that mindset of, like, one day at a time and not thinking about so far down the road, because when you take it one day at a time, that's how you grow and become yourself.
That is amazing. And I can imagine going through that thought process where it's like, great, I'm 12 years old? My life's over. But it's not over.
No, not even close. And I fell in love with basketball. I was a baseball guy before. I was kind of barely, on the middle school team, but my dad played baseball all the way up to college, and his dad did too. So I was like, I have to make dad proud. I'm going to stay baseball. And I love playing baseball, and I love watching baseball. But then pivoting to basketball, that was, on one hand, I was like, okay, is dad still going to be proud of me when I'm doing basketball, not baseball, when he's taught me everything I know about baseball? But then at the same time, it was like, I feel like I'm a lot better at wheelchair basketball than I would have been at baseball if I remained able-bodied.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Liam Frobisher is in studio. We'll come back. Colin Amos is going to stop by. He is here, and he's going to answer your questions. And we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. Not Mariners, freaking Mariners. Hops tickets at 5, and then college football chatter with Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 previews at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, every month, my man comes in from the law offices of Goldberg Jones Divorce and Men, 1-800-DIVORCE. And Colin, you're showing me pictures. You've been doing a lot of different work.
Yeah.
A house.
A house. I know. After 30 years of working and planning, and it's our sixth house. We would buy foreclosures, and me and my wife would work on the house for 4 or 5 years, and then sell it and move on to another house. And so now we finally designed our house, and
Your forever house.
Our forever house. That's right. But it's got we're instead of we're trying to be progressive. It's one story because we're getting old. You can just like you.
My mom, I am getting gray, and my mom and dad complain about having a 2-story house constantly now.
So it's a ranch, and it's sprawled out, and instead in the primary, as they call it these days, in the primary, instead of that tub that goes in front of the window, we're doing a cold plunge. And in the primary, we're doing the sauna in the primary. So
awesome.
Yeah. Instead of, we're trying to think, we're going to get old and crotchety and cranky, and we need to take care of our bodies. And,
well, the next time you wipe out on your mountain bike, you can go to the cold plunge, right?
I don't say that. I still haven't got out of the doghouse.
She's still mad at you for that.
Yeah. I hid my mountain bike so she couldn't sell it because she would not get value for that bike compared to what I paid for it.
I told you, my dad was wanting to do some roof work, right?
Uh-huh.
And she goes, if you get up on that roof, I will divorce you.
Yeah.
And so his solution was, I'm not joking, he bought a flipping harness that attached to the chimney. And so he's like, oh, this is great. I just hook it around here, and that way if I fall, I don't come off the roof. I'm like, have you checked with Mom on that one?
Oh, yeah. No. It's a guy thing. I totally get it. My dad is 94, and we built the house that he still lives in. And it has a Spanish tile concrete roof, and he's up there pressure washing it at 92, and he's a little shaky, and we just said, that's enough. Get off the damn roof. But it's a guy thing, climbing down ladders when you shouldn't, falling off, so I'm going to try to be smart when I get older and just not do crazy things. Because I think that's the problem is you fall, you break a hip or you break it, and then you can't play golf. You can't do the activities. You can't garden. You can't do a lot of things. No. And that kind of your quality of life goes down.
That's the key, movement. When I was younger, the exercise and working out, I was like, well, I just want to look good. Now it's all about, I just want to be able to move so I can continue to play copious amounts of golf or whatever it is you want to do, right? That's what it's all about. Yeah. My Uncle Gordon, who lives in Colorado Springs, same thing, my Aunt Elaine, she was like, I don't want you up on the ladder. He's like, oh, no problem, right? I got this. He gets up there, and he didn't know that there was a beehive that was underneath the, the gutter. Oh, yeah. He gets attacked by a bunch of bees and falls off the ladder and breaks his arm.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And luckily, it was just an arm.
Yeah. And then you got to recover from it. And when you get older, I mean, I've got my elbow. I got tendonitis in my elbow. I got my knee. I have I was just jogging straight ahead, and I sprained an MCL. How do you do that? It's because I'm 59.
Yeah.
And that's just what happens. And so I'm all taped up. I'm taped together. But yeah, things are going to happen, so you don't need to force it by doing crazy things.
Yeah, and a lot of the old guys I play golf with, they could not pass through a metal detector without that thing buzzing. This guy takes his club, he's like, look this. He's like, ting, ting, ting. He's like, my hip is titanium. He goes, this stuff's amazing. I don't feel any pain in there. No arthritis.
Yeah, I am so lucky because I used to ride motorcycles all the time.
Oh, you did? So did I.
Yeah. I had 3 motorcycles, off-road, dirt bikes. I'm surprised that I don't have a ton of broken bones.
Dude, when it's my favorite birthday of all time. When I lived in Colorado, we lived up on a mountain.
Oh yeah.
And my dad, I had been begging. I was like, and I'm praying, please God, just let me have a 3-wheeler or a motorcycle. My dad took me down from the foothills in Conifer into Denver, and we pulled up to this house, and there it was, the Kawasaki with the power band.
Was that the 2-stroke motorcycle, or was it the
2-stroke motorcycle?
Oh, geez. Those things could haul.
All I know is that we were doing things, I look back now, I was like, I can't believe I used to do that stuff, but it was like the ultimate sign of freedom because we lived on a mountain, so I just took off. And I had friends that had motorcycles on the other side of the mountain. I'd ride over there. We were doing jumps and all this crazy stuff. It was the best.
Yeah, that's how that's why I wrecked on my mountain bike, because I did all this off-roading and I was jumps and all this crazy stuff. And I crashed, but no broken bones. I still have scars, But then I'm, getting on that mountain bike thinking, oh, yeah, I got this. And then,
You know what's crazy is that I didn't know this because I haven't ridden motorcycles in so long now, but I know a guy who's mechanically inclined. They don't do 2-stroke engines anymore.
Oh, they don't?
No. It's like a 4-stroke. So like you don't have to mix the. Remember you used to have to mix the oil.
What a mess that was. Luckily, I had a Honda, so I didn't have the screamer like you did. So I always had the normal. But
the normal sound.
I would go over and my buddies would have it, and they'd dust me, and then I'd let me have that. And the first time you get on that, you're riding a wheelie if you're not careful, just like that. Or you could be going and pop a wheelie. I mean, those things are
the power band was.
It's awesome.
Awesome. If my mom knew what that thing was capable of, she would have been like, "This ain't happening."
Well, did you ever let your kids have a motorcycle?
No.
Yeah, and my kids have said no. There's no way because I know what you'll do on that thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Is that now with life experience, I'm like, nah, it's a bad idea.
No, just stay locked in your room.
But think about it. When we were kids riding our bikes around the neighborhood, I never wore a helmet.
No.
The only thing we were concerned about is racking our balls on the crossbar.
And the same thing with the motorcycle. I had these off-road bikes, and we didn't have helmets. We were out just cruising around, just no problem.
Idiots.
Then parents are like, "Oh yeah, after school, we'll see you in 2 hours." Going out by myself, cruising around in the woods.
And it was no concern. Nowadays, it's like I remember when my daughter first was learning how to ride a bike, like she was all. Like
padded up.
Yeah, and I'm like, I had to step in and be like, no, the helmet's fine. I ripped off all this other stuff. She's like, oh, I can ride now. I was like, yeah, because you're not confined.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
All right, Colin Amos in studio. By the way, before we get to the questions, you are showing great restraint by not diving into all of the football gambling podcasts.
Absolutely. Because
how are you managing to hold off?
The house keeps me distracted. I try not to listen. Well, the sports is going. World Cup helped.
Yeah.
Kept me distracted on the other football.
Yeah.
Which was fun. But right now I'm dying because the Mariners are no fun to watch right now.
Liam here is a huge Mariner fan.
Oh, I feel for you.
They're so frustrating to watch.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's either
because last year you came in and we had all that run, and then this year it's just like wah wah wah.
Yeah.
But luckily we have the Dodgers. That's going to be easy. Coming up, right?
Yeah, starting tonight.
That's how you finish it up. You just play the Dodgers. That's easy wins.
So brutal. All right, we got questions. Calling from the law offices of Goldberg Jones Divorce from 1-800-DIVORCE. He answers your questions every month. Here's the first one. Colin, my wife and I just decided to get a divorce. Should I stay in the house or should I move out? What is the best way to proceed?
This one is great because I get this question all the time, and it's an important one. So. The way I answer it is first, do we have kids? Because if you have kids, the parenting plan you establish with precedent makes a difference. So when you move out, obviously, where are the kids going to be and what kind of visitation are you going to have? Are you going to be on a buddy's couch where you can't have overnights with your kids and you're going to be setting a precedent because you're not getting back in tomorrow. Once you're out, it's hard to get back in. And so if you have kids, it can make a big difference. Financially, bills still need to get paid. You have a mortgage. Who's paying the mortgage? Or is your wife going to say, yeah, move out? What they usually say is move out, but still pay for everything. I want your wallet, but I just don't want you here.
Yeah.
And so that could set precedent for spousal support payments when you're paying your bills where you're at, plus the house bills, plus the car insurance, plus all the Xfinity and all the things you have to pay for services. So you have to be real careful not to set a negative precedent.
Yeah.
However, conflict is a big thing, and a lot of restraining orders come near the end of a divorce or a relationship where people really are having trouble getting along. And so if the conflict is high enough, moving out is a solution, but not to be self-serving, but please call me before you move out so we can just talk about the parameters that you set. You don't have to hire an attorney or file a divorce. Just make sure the parameters you set if you're going to move out are something that you can live with if a divorce is pursued in the future.
All right, Colin just brought up a good point that I forgot to mention. If you're going to go through the divorce process, call 1-800-DIVORCE. Colin will answer your call. He'll call you back, and he'll give you a free consultation so he can point you in the right direction. It's critical. Next question for you, Colin. Do you recommend a prenup in all situations?
I'd say no, not in all situations, because as we joke, and have, because we've known each other for so long. When I got married,
you had nothing.
I had a lot of student loans.
Yeah.
And the prenuptial would have done me no good. And Tracy wouldn't have signed it.
No, she would have laughed at you.
I'm not going to sign that thing. I'm not going to assume your debt. But in more and more situations, because the more progressive prenuptial that we're dealing with these days deals with how you're going to manage your finances during the marriage. So when you accumulate your retirement during the marriage, where before the prenuptial said what you're bringing into the marriage is separate, but now we're saying, well, your income is separate. Your accumulation into other investments, as long as you keep those investments in your name, is separate. Your retirement is separate. Other, stock options, anything you're acquiring. So it helps you manage your relationship into the future so that the divorce is easier, but not in all situations. I have been married over 30 years, so I still have that belief that you're a partnership when you get married, and we don't have to overly regulate it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone number. Next question. Colin, how is my military pension impacted in a divorce?
Yeah, that's critical. It's like any other pension or retirement. If it's acquired during the marriage, now the military has certain rules, like a 10-year rule that your spouse has certain rights and benefits from being married to you while you were in the military. But aside from that, still acquiring your pension during the military, it also can be divided at the divorce, just like a railroad pension or PERS or FERS or CSRS, these kind of different.
You probably
pensions.
deal with these questions all the time, don't you?
Yeah, because most people, almost everybody has some form of a retirement, whether it be just an IRA or a 401k or 403b, or your work for the state or the feds, and then certainly military, and so and construction. Those unions have pensions, and so it is an interesting thing. Guys work so hard and they create this pension. It is like their blood, their blood, sweat, and tears when they have a pension. So when we're talking about dividing it, they're like, wait a minute, that's mine. I, worked my butt off to acquire that pension, but it's still a marital asset. So we have to figure out ways. If you want to keep your pension, you're going to have to trade it off something else. But a military pension is very similar.
So I'm assuming the guys love it when you inform them that's a marital asset.
They love that. They love divide by two. They hate. It was okay when they were in primary school, but now that they're getting a divorce, they don't like the divide by two.
All right, next question, Colin. How would our camper, boat, and motorcycles be divided up during a divorce?
Oh, guys get all that stuff.
Toys.
Easily. Yeah, the toys. Yeah, all
I'm
the
sure
tools.
Your ex-wife wants the motorcycle.
Yeah, she gets her Chanel bag and her, her shoes, and you get the toys. But yeah, they're like any other assets. Those type of assets, the cars and boats and stuff, you can find values pretty quickly. But once we get beyond that, when we're into lesser valuable items, by the time you're done paying your attorney to talk about custody and visitation, spousal support, how to divide the retirements in the house, the last thing you want to do is pay me to talk about how to deal with the inflatable boat. So many times we are able to resolve that, and it's usually resolved on gender lines.
Yeah.
Guys want their stuff, their tools and things, and women want other things. Now they may play the game like, I want it because you want it, but it's garage sale value, it's Craigslist value.
Interesting.
So it's not replacement value.
All right, next question. 1-800-DIVORCE, the telephone number. Colin Amos from Goldberg Jones. Colin, my girlfriend and I have been dating for 2 years. We're discussing buying a house. Any recommendations on how to proceed?
Yes.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Well, so these days, domestic partnership is a big deal. In Washington, committed intimate relationship, same idea. When you buy property together, it's part of the relationship. And if you don't define that relationship like a business relationship, if you met somebody and you say, hey, let's just buy a house together, you wouldn't just buy a house. You'd say, okay, how are we going to contribute to the down payment? How are we going to manage the expenses? If there are capital contributions, like we have to fix the roof or there's water damage, who's going to contribute? How is it going to be returned to us? All of those are just like a business relationship. Just because you're sleeping with your business partner does not mean you shouldn't have some kind of contractual relationship with how we're going to manage it. Because if you don't, then you're paying me, you're paying the courts to resolve it. And if you don't get married, if you don't have some contractual understanding, an LLC operating agreement, a cohabitation agreement or something that deals with the property management, you're going to pay a lot more to me to figure that out. And then you're going to say, well, this is how we were talking about it. And she's not going to have the same opinion as you do as to how that arrangement was supposed to be handled later.
All right. Next question, Colin. This is probably one you get a lot. How long does alimony last?
Seemingly forever. It goes on forever. So that one's interesting. Alimony, it's the most critical aspect of a divorce to make sure you get right, because it's an act of God to modify or fix or change later if you have to pay it. So assuming that you have to pay it, in Oregon, kind of this rule of thumb where there's a significant disparity of income that seems like it's going to last. Once you're 20 years married and longer, it can become indefinite. Now, indefinite does not mean forever. It could change in a year, it could be modified, but it doesn't have a date certain of termination. 20 years and younger, this is a real rough line, just to give everybody some context. 20 years and less, in Oregon, the rule of thumb is half the length of time of the marriage. Now, these are all rules of thumb. There's so many factors: health, age, educational background, employability, work history. All of those things make a difference, as well as different types. So it really does depend on everybody's facts and circumstances, which is why, again, really be careful on this one when you're negotiating it, because if you do a deal and the judge signs it, it is very difficult to fix later.
All right. 1-800-DIVORCE. That is the number you call for a consultation. Colin can point you in the right direction. Two more questions. How are bills divided up in a divorce?
Yeah, I suppose ongoing monthly bills, we have to deal with it through a temporary order where we go to court and say temporarily how we're going to manage life, because like for the guy that moves out, bills still need to get paid. So we have to have this allocation of financial responsibility, because as you can imagine, people maybe are not so agreeable. They're like, screw you, I'm not paying the car payment, I'm not paying your health insurance, and I'm not paying the mortgage. So
that probably happens all the time.
Every day. So that's why we have this motion for temporary orders, which we file a divorce and set a hearing that says, okay, here's how we're going to manage life and have structure. So you have a judge weigh in and say, okay, this is who's going to pay this bill, the other bill, who's going to maintain the insurance and things like that. So it just depends. After you're divided, after you're divorced, then it's usually the bills go with the asset or debt that is awarded to you, and there's usually a clean break at that point.
All right, final question. Colin, I've heard your commercial with Chad discussing marital waste. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, that one we had, I think the last time we were talking about that, marital waste. It's becoming
because of your gambling habits. Yeah, that's how that came up.
That is right. Another reason why I'm waiting to the last minute to get involved with football, right?
Yes.
Last year wasn't as good as the year before.
Yeah.
But we won't talk about that. Marital waste is where it's really outside the bounds of normal behavior during a marriage. Like you can have a business losses and your business can go under. You can lose money gambling or spend too much on a credit card, and drinking problems. And those are all just dysfunction and problems, but things aren't wasteful. But when it becomes excessive, and it's kind of know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Like you spent way beyond it, or you got an addiction. I've had people who get scammed by OnlyFans, or they get on these contacts and they're getting the attention that they're not getting, and they go in deep, 10, 15, 20,000, which is way off the board of anything related to the family. That's where you can make the argument that is your separate responsibility because you wasted or you spent money doing something you really should not have.
And you would get stuck with the tab on that.
Yeah, or have to reimburse the marriage back for money you spent or debt that's created. So it's not as common, because just because you make a bad decision doesn't mean it's wasteful. It just means that you just weren't smart in the circumstance, but it has to be kind of excessive.
If I had a penny for every time I wasn't smart in the circumstance.
You're constantly wasteful.
I know.
You're just not marital wasteful anymore. But hey, you got to live with your own circumstances.
That's
right.
Good. That's right. I got no one to blame but myself.
Exactly.
All right. It's very simple. 1-800-DIVORCE, the telephone number. If you call, Colin will return your call, answer any questions you have, free consultation. You can check them out online at goldbergjones-or.com. And they also will take on female clients as well. So not just men, but everybody.
Okay. That's right. That's right. People need help saving lives daily.
All right. So next time you come in, we'll get an update on the house process, but also you'll probably be knee deep into some football coverage.
I will be ready. I will have we'll go through our annual over under win totals on, we'll pull college games and we'll pull certainly the pros.
Yeah. I feel like you and I should go on a ceremonial, like, Kawasaki ride. Ask your wife if we can just spend like 30 minutes ripping it up a little bit. That'd be so much fun.
I think Beckham did that. He went on a discovery tour. Him and some buddies just got motorcycles and then we're out for like 6 weeks. And what a trip that!
How much fun would that be?
Oh yeah, I did that in Utah back before Moab was what it is today.
Yeah,
my dad was big into the backcountry. We through the Blue Mountains, through Moab, all through Arches on motorcycles, back in the back trails, and camping every night. Ran out of gas a few times, and just right on the things that I could never do now, where you just pull over, you're in the desert, you put your mat down on the ground, and you go to sleep.
Yeah, take a nap.
Now I'm thinking, what is crawling on me?
You remember the old little valve that you would flip over for your reserve tank?
Oh yeah. Forget to turn that off. Sometimes I drain my gas a few times.
It happens.
Yes.
All right, Colin, I appreciate it, man. Nice work.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Don't forget, we got 4-pack of tickets for the Hops coming up at 5, and then Brett Ciancia at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, big thanks to Colin Amos, Goldberg Jones, for stopping by in studio to answer your questions. And again, if you have any questions or if you are facing a divorce, just send me an email or hit me up on social media. You can send me a direct message. You can send me a text at 360-281-5473. He's able to answer any questions, and he comes in every month to do so and point you guys in the right direction. Now, of course, I would desire that every marriage lasts forever, just like I want people to be able to live forever, right? But that's not always going to be the case. So use Colin, 1-800-DIVORCE, and at least give him a call so you don't make the wrong move or make the wrong choice in a particular situation that you're faced with. Colin will be able to point you in the right direction, and he's got decades of experience in being able to do that. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Brett Ciancia is coming up at 5:20. We'll get his take on who's going to win the national championship, who he's got in the national title game, who are the playoff teams, and most importantly, what he thinks about the Oregon Ducks and how deep they're going to go. As I mentioned before with Oregon, it's so great to see them in a position now to where they're knocking on the door every year. And Dan Lanning's doing a heck of a job with that program. And as you continue to knock and put yourself in a position, eventually you're going to break through. And that's what we have to see. I got a message here from Paul. I said, Edan, talking about Edan Krolewicz from Rip City, not Rip Off. Edan, I enjoyed your segment with Chad. Appreciate the analysis. You are missing the broader economic impact holes: restaurants, parking, rideshare, transit, retail, local jobs, lodging, taxes, and business revenue. So there you go. The great thing is, and that's one of the issues I've looked at with the Motor Center renovations, like if the Blazers were to leave, it's hard to calculate the total impact that would have on the area because of all the things that Paul mentioned, all the jobs that it creates, people being able to work at Motor Center, hotels, people coming into town to stay at rooms. You have all the individuals who are driving Uber, all the rideshare. It's just amazing how far-reaching it is, not to mention all the restaurants that people will pack to be able to sit down and watch a game. And it's not just for the games. It's also for all the event nights as well, the concerts and the different things going on where people will come into town. They'll utilize different lodging. They'll hit the restaurants, the bars, whatever the case may be. It's huge. And that's why that's part of the reason of why it's critical to make sure that they get this deal done. So that session of discussion coming up on Thursday, we'll find out more in terms of where they're at. But I will say that over the last 24 hours, we're getting better dialogue from both sides, which is nice. And that's a good place to be. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620. Whatever you want to talk about is fine by me. I've also got my man Liam Frobisher, who's hanging out in studio from Scappoose, went to Eastern Washington. So I'll ask you this, Liam. Obviously being a communications major, like what is it like? Because I remember the first time I walked in a radio studio or have been behind a TV, set to see how things operate. Like, what's it like now that you're inside seeing how things operate? What stands out to you?
It's definitely cool. It's really surreal. It's cool to see all the separate little sections and booths and studios, kind of everyone, doing their own thing, but then also there's a place to come together and work on stuff together. And like we were talking about before the show, all the technology just makes it so convenient and so easy. People can work from all over the place, help set stuff up, help keep stuff going. But it's just really cool to see, and it feels very cozy. Again, this is totally my dream, is to just hang out and talk about sports.
Yeah, what's cool about the studio or being in studio is that, usually I'm working with one or two other people at the same time, so it's kind of like a tight-knit little family group, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the great part about you now, or for anyone else out there that's, looking to get into journalism or media, the opportunities now are so much more far-reaching than, when I came up and got my start because of the internet now, because you've got the ability to do podcasts, you've got YouTube, we have radio stations, we got TV networks, all these different access points for people who are young and don't have the experience. It's amazing the opportunities out there compared to when I went into it right when the internet had just become a big thing.
Right, yeah, and to have that ability to just go on and try stuff out and not really have a lot of pressure put on you. I don't know. I feel like when I tell my parents, like I was on the radio, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, were you so nervous?" And I'm like, not really. Like I was just being myself, just kind of talking. So
that's the best advice I ever got, Liam, was, just be you. Whatever you are, be that person. Because one thing I've learned about people, they're really smart, and if you're a fraud, people can sniff that stuff out real quick, right?
Right. Well, and if they don't like you or don't want to hear what you have to say, then they don't have to listen.
Yeah.
Like that's the beauty of it. Is like you'll reach the people that share beliefs and thoughts with you, or that disagree respectfully and want to have, constructive conversation. And then the people who don't want to hear from you just don't have to listen.
That's right. All right, we'll come back. We're going to give away a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops, so you can check out the new ballpark. If you've not been to the new Hops ballpark in Hillsborough, it's spectacular. And I'm going to give away a 4-pack coming up next on the Rip City Drive. All right, what's going on, my friends? Hope you're enjoying your afternoon. We start with the NFL. Baker Mayfield intends to play out the final year of his deal with the Buccaneers and become a free agent. Jalen Carter, defensive tackle for the Eagles, gets a 4-year extension. He's now the highest-paid defensive tackle in football. Jerry Jones says competing for a title is not a reach for the Cowboys. Kyle Shanahan clarified today that he was at fault for the car crash a couple of weeks ago that left him with serious injuries. Said it happened when he reached down to grab his phone after it fell off his lap. Draymond Green returning to the Warriors on a 1-year deal. Mariners and Dodgers tonight from Dodger Stadium. The first pitch at 7:10. Luis Castillo on the bump for Seattle. Mariners 2.5 games back of the Rangers in the AL West. Coming up next on the Rip City Drive, we have a 4-pack of tickets for the Hillsboro Hops. Your chance to get out to Hops Ballpark. We'll do it next. All right, if you're on hold, stay there. You can jump on the show if you'd like at 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. That is the telephone number. So you can jump on board. I want to hear your voice. So we're going to talk football with Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 previews. We'll get his take on the college football season, which is upcoming. We'll get his take on Oregon State, on Oregon, the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12. And we'll get his take on who's going to win the national championship. So you can jump on board. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon and the wonderful summertime weather. All right, so we have a 4-pack of tickets for the Hillsboro Hops. And it's coming up on July 31st. It's going to be against Everett at the brand new Hops Ballpark. So you get a chance to watch a little baseball and hang out. And again, if you haven't been out there, I want you to be able to see it firsthand on what it's like, because it really is. It's basically a major league ballpark where you have a minor league team that plays baseball there. That's how amazing it is. So it's coming up on July 31st at Hillsboro Hops Ballpark. Your telephone number is 503-248-0620. We'll take caller 5 right now. If you want to see the Hops, you want a 4-pack of tickets to sit in the Rip City Radio row, fire away with your phone calls right now. 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Fifth caller gets a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops as they take on Everett July 31st at Hillsboro Hops Ballpark. 503-248-0620. Fire away right now. I want to hear from a baseball fan. Hit them up. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Your chance to get out to the brand new ballpark. It's awesome. The food offering is terrific. Not a bad seat in the house, and I think you'll enjoy it. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Let's go out to the phones right now. We got Casey in Washington. Casey, you're up on the Rip City Drive. Appreciate the call. What's on your mind?
Chad, I guess I called too early because I would have loved to have been in line for the 4-pack of tickets to the Hops game. So 2 reasons I called, actually. First of all, I want to say hi to Liam there in studio. He fired me up today. I just want to let him know he sounds great on the radio. I think he's got a good future in sportscasting ahead of him, and he inspired me today. So thank you for having Liam on. And
Casey, just so you know, he asked me.
He did a great job.
He's right here. So Casey, I need you to confirm this, because I told him after the first segment, I said, Liam, you're doing a heck of a job. And he said, are you just saying that, or are you serious? I said, I'm serious. So you tell him yourself, how good does he sound today as a guy that's never been on radio before?
He sounded great. He sounds great. I enjoyed listening to him. And like I said, he was inspiring, I think, to a lot of people out here listening like me. And so, no, he sounds like he's been on the air before. Sounds like he's, been on the air, maybe a student radio station or something. But, no, he sounded great, sounded natural.
Have you done any student radio, Liam?
No, nothing official. So that's great to hear. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, you sound great, and fired me up. You motivated me to call today, so thank you for that. And then the other reason I was calling, Chad, I hadn't called you in a while, and I was actually at the Hops new ballpark on Sunday, and so I got there a little late, and as I'm driving, I'm listening to the broadcast, and so I'm a big Cubs fan, and Council's son is playing for the Hops, and he ended up getting hurt. But I got to tell you, yeah, the ballpark. So I am a geek like that with ballparks and broadcasting. So I made my way around that whole park, and that family, the Hillsborough Medical Center Family Zone they've got there in right field and right center. That's awesome. What I also love is, because I like to sit out in the outfield and watch a game and even call a game from out there, but sit in the outfield and you have that visibility into the bullpens for both Hops and the team. And then, you can see the game as you're looking at the activity in the bullpen from that family. And then they got a nice little standing area right there in center field. I mean, I worked my way all the way 360 around the stadium, watching it from different angles, the game. And, great entertainment product. And so, I like, to your point, the folks that are out there to that new ballpark really need to check it out. And I think they've got like a 6-game homestand coming up right now. So, really, it was absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed that. And then I also wanted to say to you, ask you about the Blazers and not being from the area. And I wanted to agree with your comment that you made about what the Blazers bring to Portland. I think that's obvious. Everybody realizes that. But I guess as an outsider who's not from this area originally, I just can't believe. I mean, I understand both sides of it. I understand Dundon's standpoint and the Blazers' standpoint in their negotiations. I also understand the cities, but I'm just a little perplexed by the city council folks and their take on kind of the way it's going. So I did hear you say there's been some give and take back and forth of late, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Some positive developments.
Yeah.
That's great to hear, because I can't imagine getting to a point where they're talking about the Blazers leaving Portland. That would be awful.
Well, you're right about one thing. The city council is a disaster. I mean, if we're just being honest, it's a disaster.
Yeah,
but they're in a position, Casey, where they really don't have a choice. They can't let the Blazers walk on their watch. They've got to get a deal done, and I think eventually they will. They know that, but watching the process play out with the council, it's just infuriating.
It's painful.
Oh my gosh,
it's painful. Yeah, I mean, it's like you said. It's just like, how do you not understand? Like, again, I can understand them wanting to be good servants for the people, but come on, like this makes no sense at all. So that's good. So let me ask you a question before I let you go, and we'll get into college football season's right around the corner. But a question on the Blazers. So what I didn't have a chance to talk to you or hear you when they picked up John Morant. What do you think of that situation?
Well, let me tell you what I think about that. And Casey, I appreciate the phone call. You're the man. So first off, the trade itself, great value in return. They were able to take that contract to Jeremy Grant, and they, along with Chris Murray, and they move them out to Memphis. They get John Morant in return. So you're able to unload the Grant contract without attaching a pick, which is incredible. And in return, you get a 2-time All-Star who's only 26 years of age. So you get a guy who's got tremendous talent and exceptional potential in return for a contract that was very hefty and almost impossible to unload, and yet they found a way to do it. So you get great value, which is awesome. The big question mark I have, which probably is similar to most on this topic, I don't really understand the fit. And the reason why is the reporting so far has indicated that it might be Ja and Dame starting together. They're both undersized and not great defenders. So if they're going to start, then all of a sudden it puts a lot of pressure on Donovan Clingan, on Tamani Kamara, and Denny Avdia, because you're going to get a lot of straight line drives through the initial wave of defense. So I don't understand the fit there. Now, maybe Ja comes off the bench. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's possible. I would start Dame and Drew Holiday because Drew can defend multiple spots on the floor. But in addition to the defensive concerns I would have with Ja and Dame together, now you have 5 guards. So you've got Dame, who we know is going to start, Ja, you've got Drew Holiday, Scoot Henderson, and Shaedon Sharpe. Now, Sharpe, yeah, I guess he could be considered a 3, but in my mind, he's a 2 guard. 5 guards. And then you also have Denny Avdia, who was your primary facilitator last year when he rose to prominence and became an NBA All-Star. So how on earth are they going to find a way to make it work with 1 basketball, 5 guards, and Denny Avdia? And Denny Avdia is at his best when he's got the basketball in his hands. Dame is used to playing with the basketball in his hands, as is Ja. Scoot's a traditional point guard who needs the basketball in his hands. I guess the one saving grace is the fact that Holiday, for sure, Scoot to a lesser degree can play without the basketball in their hands, but I don't know how it's going to work. And overall now they're a more undersized team. So initially when the trade first went down, we all assumed that it was a setup for another trade that was coming down the pipe, but that trade has not come to be, and now it looks like they may enter camp with the roster as is. So maybe they've got their eyes on another trade to help balance out the roster, but right now the fit is more the concern, but the value they got in return is tremendous. Let's go back out to the phones. Paul and Westland. My man Paul, what's up, brother? Fire away.
My favorite anti-communist sports radio host.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that endorsement.
Oh, anytime. First of all, shout out to Professor Cece last week. Adore her. Her IQ
Cece's great.
Parallels, or maybe higher than Raider Mike's. I feel like her IQ was up there with Mike's.
Yeah, there's no question. Cece's really sharp, and every time she calls, I'm almost intimidated because I know she's a lot sharper than I am, Paul.
Me too. She had many good points, and I'm going to take a moratorium from ripping on Blazer ownership for today. I was hoping we could chat about your favorite NBA player of all time, LeBron James. I feel like we've glanced over this. He made himself so unlikable, Chad, and I think he just solidified Jordan as the GOAT. I mean, Jordan, I thought about this. Does it ever get brought up that when he chose to come back, he went to the frickin' Wizards, who haven't been significant since, like, Bernard King played with them in the mid-'80s. He didn't go ring chasing to end his career because he showed that he proved his career was enough. But this news about him wanting to take a helicopter from NYC to Philly, give me a break. I mean, if this guy is such a drama king or queen, it's too much. I think the optics are bad, obviously, with the Kobe not too long ago in the helicopter, but it proves that he doesn't really want to be a part of Philly. He doesn't want to be a part of the community. He's like, yeah, I'll play my 2 hours or whatever, 30 minutes, 2 hours of actual game time in Philly, but then I'm out of here. I don't want to be a part of your community.
Well,
what do you think?
Well, I agree with everything you said about him being a drama queen for sure. That's exactly what LeBron is. He's all about the drama. I would say that my concern there, basketball-wise, would be the fit, because you have multiple guys on the roster who have exceptional usage rates. LeBron, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. It's kind of a fit issue. I don't know how that's all going to work out. And I agree with Charles Barkley. You know, LeBron just, like usual, choosing a spot where he can stack the team in his favor. Now, for me, because of the era I grew up in, I find it to be a little unsavory. But, whatever. I don't think Philadelphia is going to win a championship. I don't think they're a threat to be a title contender. But the fit will be interesting to watch. And most importantly, what about H? Joel Embiid's not healthy. LeBron hasn't played a full season in multiple years. But we know he's going to get his retirement tour. That's coming, unfortunately. All right, we'll come back. We got to talk some college football. And how about that, Liam? We got confirmation from Casey that I wasn't blowing smoke. You're sounding legit, which is really good.
Yes, good to hear. All
right, we'll come back. Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews, talking college football. If you're on hold, including Mitch, I will get to your call. Stay there. All right, the great news, college football is right around the corner, and our next guest is one of my absolute favorites. You've got to check out his website because his information is awesome. Pick6previews.com. Brett Ciancia is back on the show. Brett, you're one of the busiest guys in all of sports media right now. What's up, my brother? Thanks for coming back on.
Hey, Chad, thanks for having me. Yeah, you're right. It's the busy time of year, the best time of year here at Pick 6 Previews. It's magazine published season. Just published the 2026 edition. They're rolling off the printing press. We're shipping them across the country. Cannot wait to break this season down, especially being on here in Portland, Oregon, because we have a special pick here at the top, and I can't wait to get into it with you.
Okay, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I wanted you to take a moment to talk about, we know about your preview, which is amazing, but Pick 6 Plus is getting a lot of love around the country. Talk to us about Pick 6 Plus and what people can find in that if they go to pick6previews.com.
Yeah, well, we have the traditional preview magazine, which everyone has a grasp of what that looks like. But I find that once the season kicks off, there's so many games all of a sudden, it's hard to watch it all, hard to keep up with everything. So what I put together here with Pick 6 Plus is a weekly email package, a stats and information package that's sent out to you via email every Tuesday afternoon during the fall. And it's got every Power 4 team in there, all the key stats, all the numbers, and then the matchup against their opponent. So how their rushing offense fares against the other one's rushing defense, all those positional matchups. And then, of course, the picks, the projections against the spread stuff. Did really well last year and getting a lot of attention here, but really just the information, not just the picks, but really the information is what is drawing attention. So we got samples, we got testimonials all up on there on pick6previews.com.
We're talking to Brett Ciancia, pick6previews.com. You can check out the website right now. You know, I was thinking about the Oregon Ducks earlier today because I knew I was going to talk with you, and I think it's pretty amazing to see where the program is at now and the work that Dan Lanning is doing. And Brett, they're continuing to put themselves in a position to compete for a national championship, and I'm a big believer that if you do things the right way and you continue to knock on the door, eventually that's going to pop open for them. But what's your overall thought on where the program's at today with the work of Dan Lanning and his staff and what they've been able to continue to do?
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, if you think on a really high level, program level, back in the 2000s, 2010s, it was a lot of speed offense. Some would think it was even gadgety at times, but what happened was, they had great success. But what happened was when they hired Mario Cristobal, he returned the attention to the lines of scrimmage. They wanted to build this thing from the inside out, and you saw that with his offensive lines at Oregon. And then it was continued here with Dan Lanning with the defensive side. So the offensive line, and they built it in the trenches out. But with Dan Lanning, they've really elevated their recruiting profile. And if you think back to the 2000s, the 2010s, Oregon was usually in the top 20, top 25 for recruiting, never top 5. And what they've established the last couple of years is phenomenal. 3 straight top 5 high school recruiting classes. And then not only that, 2 top 5 transfer hauls on top of that. So this started to catch my eye last preseason when I was doing the 2025 preview magazine. I was looking at every position on Oregon's roster. I'm thinking, wow, all these 5-star freshmen and true freshmen and redshirt freshmen, they are going to be talented in 25, but really talented in 26. So for those readers out there, I put in there on the Oregon page last year that not for 2025, but all the way in next year's edition, 2026, I'm going to call for them to be the national champions. And I remember I revealed this on your show, too. You guys got a kick out of it. And but, yeah, here we are 12 months later. I'm sticking with it because Oregon played really well last year, made the Final Four, top 5 on both sides of the ball. They bring back Dante Moore at quarterback. And yeah, I think they're on schedule. I'm sticking with that super future pick from last year.
I love it. Brett Ciancia has got Oregon winning the national championship. And if you look at what they've been able to do under Lanning, 48-8 since he came on the scene in Eugene. But the 5 losses for Oregon over the last 3 years, Indiana twice, which was last year, Ohio State the year before that, and then, of course, Washington twice in the year before that. So they're so close. They've just run into the best teams in college football over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, national champion in Indiana twice last year, a national champion in 24 against Ohio State, and then Washington played for the national title back in 23. So, yeah, I mean, they've been with the best of the best here, and they belong on this championship tier, this playoff tier. And, yeah, you just look at every room. I mean, the receivers are healthy and back this year. Evan Stewart is back healthy. DeCorian Moore returns. It's a great 1-2 punch. You got McClellan there as the third string. Tight end, they reloaded. Offensive line, 2 guys are back, but they recruit really well there. What really stands out is this defense, honestly, and this defensive line. All 4 of the starters came back from last year. All 4 are on my All Big Ten team. It's a lot of green and yellow, green and gold on the page. They're all back. They were so talented, that defensive line starting 4, that all the backups transferred out, and they were all rated as high 4-star transfers onto other Power 4 rosters. So love the defensive line. Lanning himself is a great defensive coach. They kept the coordinator hires in-house, so I kind of know what it's going to look like. I like that. And then the secondary, I never seen so much talent on paper. If you're going off recruiting and transfer rankings, it's 8 guys that, when they were recruited, were top 50 recruits, which are almost 5 stars. So unbelievable talent. It's all ready to cash in here. They steamrolled through their schedule last year, albeit the Indiana games. But I think with Indiana taking a step back, I think it's Oregon's time to become the 4th straight Big Ten champion, 4 different Big Ten national champion, too.
That's pretty amazing. One final thought on the Ducks. In today's college football landscape, continuity is not something you see at a lot of programs, but you mentioned the defensive front. They might have the best safeties in the country, but there's a lot of continuity across the board. That could be helpful as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different categories that you want to look at when you're previewing a team. We talked about high school recruiting, transfer recruiting, coaching staffs, schemes, past year performance. All that is there. And then, of course, returning production. And that's what you're hinting at here. You got your quarterback back, with the running backs who ended up winning the starting jobs there are back. Receivers are back. I guess a couple new spots on that offensive line. But elsewhere, so much talent returns to Eugene. A lot to be excited for. I can't wait to see it in action. Now, here's the thing. In the old BCS era, the 2010s and before that, it might be tough for this Oregon team to go undefeated. I'm not calling for 12-0. But what ends up winning national titles nowadays is to have all that 5-star depth for a big bracket in January. So, they might trip up once, maybe even twice in the regular season against a tough schedule. But once they get in there to January, they have the talent and the depth to go the distance. So I'm calling for them to win the national title.
It's Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 previews here on the Rip City Drive. Who will be the main competition to Oregon in the Big Ten?
I think Ohio State is right there again. You can't get rid of this program. Every year they send 10, 11, 12 draft picks to the NFL there in April, and it's just same old rinse and repeat. They're right back in there. They recruit at the same clip as Oregon. And you know what? I love their offensive scheme. I love their defensive scheme with Matt Patricia. He was thought to be a questionable hire this time last offseason, but like a mad scientist, he turned out the number 1 defense in the country. So while it's new faces, it's a lot of 5 stars, just like how Oregon does it. But what makes them stand out is on offense, they bring back Julian Sayin, the Heisman candidate quarterback, and then Jeremiah Smith, arguably the best receiver in the country, arguably the best overall player of any position in the country, the way he's talked about. So that right there keeps them in the national title hunt, and I think that Ohio State and Oregon are your top 2 in the Big Ten.
What would be your surprise team in the Big Ten to keep an eye on?
Well, a surprise team, it's an old Pac-12 team for Oregon's sake. It's USC. I really like what Lincoln Riley has again on offense. That kind of is every year with them. They return Jaden Maiava. The running backs are back healthy. Big O-line with 4 starters back. So you know what you're getting on his offense. But this time around, they finally, I think, have a top 25 caliber defense to pair with it. It's a complete team now. They signed the number 1 overall recruiting class in the country. A lot of that was on the defensive line. And they brought in Gary Patterson, which, fans might remember is the old Mr. TCU. He was the head coach at TCU for 20-something years, defensive guru. He's coming up there, and he was quoted saying he's never seen a defensive line this big. He's got huge, future pros there in the trenches. So I think it's a complete team. It's a tough schedule for them as well. I keep saying it. I guess the Big Ten is a tough conference. But I think they make it into the playoff bracket as the 4th Big Ten team in there, joining Oregon, joining Ohio State, and Indiana as well.
We're talking with Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 previews. I want to jump to the SEC. I was a huge fan of Sam Leavitt during his time at Arizona State. He makes the move to LSU. He's going to work with Lane Kiffin. What do you think about the fit with Leavitt and Kiffin, and what do you see for the Tigers?
Yeah, well, he's known as the Portal King, Lane Kiffin, and he's going to have to do it again because they got 50 transfers coming to Baton Rouge.
Wow.
A huge number. And but if anyone could pull it off, it's him. He's done this year after year at Ole Miss, and finally got them to the playoff last year. And, I like what they did. And when you think of college football or football in general, the most important spots, you think quarterback, you think a left tackle, blindside protector, and then maybe a pass rush guy off the edge. LSU went out and signed the number one at every one of those positions in the transfer portal with Levitt, Jordan Seaton, the big tackle from Colorado, and then Umam Yellen from Ole Miss, the pass rusher. So, yeah, you're right. It is fully stocked and loaded. Levitt, I'm interested to see as well. He, of course, brought Arizona State to a surprise conference title 2 years ago. Last year, razzled and dazzled a lot until he got injured. And that's kind of the key storyline is his injury rehab progress. He was out for spring, so going to have to learn on the fly this new offense.
All right, how do you see it playing out in the SEC between the top two teams with Texas and Georgia?
Well, actually, I like Georgia to win it, but my number 2 is Oklahoma. And I know that Texas is coming in with a lot of hype, same like last year, same as every year with them in terms of hype. I want to see on-field performance. Now, to their credit, they did surge towards the end of last season after taking some early losses. Remember, Arch Manning came out a little flat out of the gate against Ohio State. He actually threw 10 incompletions in a row at one point. Hard to do in football, but he really improved over the second half of the season, I will say. But I'm going Georgia versus Oklahoma. I like what Oklahoma has on their defense. Could be one of the best in the country. And I think a second year for their quarterback, John Mateer, in the SEC. Second year for their coordinator. I think they're going to get some nice stat gains there, some second-year continuity. So Georgia over Oklahoma for the SEC. Georgia, this is their best defense since those national title years. So it's going to be one of those Kirby Smart defenses that carries them into the playoff and maybe deep into the playoff. So look for Georgia versus Oklahoma.
And what team do you think would be a surprise team from the SEC? Is it Texas A&M, who made a playoff appearance last year? Is it somebody else? Who should we keep an eye on?
Yeah, well, I would say Ole Miss. I don't know if you consider it a surprise or not, but they're sitting there in plus money to make the playoff. I think it's a good take there because, normally you think coaching change, that's a red flag. But the thing is, we already saw this team play for Pete Golding in January, and they played really well for him. They lose Lane Kiffin, who's calling the plays, but they hired a coordinator, a former Kiffin guy, who was quoted saying he's keeping it 90% the same offensively. So I like hearing that. I know what that's going to look like. You got Trinidad Chambliss, a quarterback back, an All-American running back returning. And then this time around, Pete Golding, being a defensive guy, he signed 8 4-stars from the transfer portal on defense. So look for a complete team, a stronger Ole Miss than last year even. And I'm surprised no one else is talking about them. I think they're one of the best teams in the country.
All right, the Big 12. It's been the conference of parity, going year to year. Texas Tech was able to really rise up and showcase their talent. They became a playoff team last year. How do you see this conference shaking out?
Yeah, I had a chance to go down to see this team live. I was down there in Lubbock for Texas Tech BYU, and they were as advertised down there. That defense was phenomenal. Jacob Rodriguez was one of the best linebackers we've seen in a generation in college football. Actually earned my Heisman ballot. He was number 1 on my ballot for the incredible season he put together there. So now you lose all that. You lose a lot of defense. You lose your linebackers. You lose all 4 of those defensive linemen. But 4 linemen drafted. Brett McGuire thinks he signed 4 new draft picks coming in from the portal. And I'll leave you with 2 transfer and talent numbers. One being, if you look at 4-star transfers, that's kind of the cutoff of the blue chippers. Texas Tech signed 20 the last 2 cycles combined. The average Big 12 team signed 2. So you're talking 20 to 2 from the transfer portal. And if you're looking at NFL-type prospects, there's a watch list out there by the East-West Shrine Game. They do the All-Star Game. Tech with 27. Next closest in the conference is 12 with TCU. So it is just head and shoulders above the rest of the league. I was a little shocked to see the coaches down at Big 12 Media Days. The coaches picked BYU to win the conference. I think that's some off-field politicking going on there after some controversy at Texas Tech. Because if you look at this team, there's no way you can't pick them to win it.
No doubt. I'm a huge fan of Kenny Dillingham. I love the work he's doing at his alma mater. What do you think about the Sun Devils this year?
Yeah, very variable team in terms of outcomes. I could see it both ways because a lot of the core of the 2024 and 2025 team that won the conference and competed again last year, the core of that team is now gone. They graduated and went pro. So now it's a whole new look team. I like what they did from the portal, though. A lot of former all-conference guys from the lower level, some former top recruits. It's just a lot of moving pieces for me. So I've got them in the middle of the pack right now in the Big 12. It's a big middle of the pack. Basically, the whole conference almost is the middle of the pack. So they could surprise. They're definitely a dangerous team, and they could really grow into it. I like the quarterback, Cutter Boley, they got from Kentucky. Really performed well as a freshman last year in the SEC. So there's definitely pieces to build, and I trust Dillingham like you. I like the guy.
Yeah, he's terrific. Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews here on the Rip City Drive. What do you think about Oregon State with their new head coach, Jamarcus Shepard, in this new look Pac-12?
Yeah, well, I mean, on a bigger scale, I'm just glad the Pac-12 is back. I'm glad that the nomads, Oregon State and Washington State are now securely in a conference.
Yes.
I thought it was a shame what happened to them, both those fan bases. So to see them now established back in a conference, you want to be competing for a league like that. But yeah, and it was a tough season there. You got a coaching transition, conference transition, so many moving parts out west. You'll see more of the non-AQ coverage from Pick Six Previews come out here in a couple of weeks. We're a little behind on that. We were so Power Force centric that we haven't gotten as much G5 stuff out yet. That's coming soon. So I will get back to you with Oregon State preview.
No, it's fine. I appreciate that. We're talking with Brett Ciancia. So we've got Oregon winning the national championship. What other three teams do you think will be in the Final Four?
Well, I see Miami returning to the Final Four. Really, I think an upgraded quarterback this time around. I liked Carson Beck, but I loved Darian Mensah coming in from Duke, a downfield vertical passer. Going to get the ball to Malachi Toney and all these 5-stars on their team. Look at Miami to return. And then Notre Dame, the team that was left out, and I guess took their ball and went home and quit on bowl season too. But looking at it, it was a really strong team last year. I know they came up short, but really they bring the whole team back. They lose the two running backs, Jeremiah Love and Jarian Price, but virtually the entire rest of the team is back and another year together. So I like Notre Dame, a complete team, an old team, to make it go the distance to the Final Four. So you got Oregon, you got Miami, you got Notre Dame. And I'll throw Georgia in there from the SEC. Just the way they recruit, 5-stars in every room, 14 starters back. It's more of a veteran-type Georgia team than you usually see. And Gunnar Stockton, look, I know it's a buzzword. You hear this term a lot, that the guy is clutch and he's a winner, all these buzzwords. But if you look at fourth quarter passing, he's number one in the country. I mean, he backed it up. He had all those close finishes at the end, really balled out late in games. I like that kind of a winner.
Now, if you listen to Big Ten Media Days, you would get the impression that they are by far the superior conference, and they love touting that now with their national championship success. How much separation is there between the Big Ten and the SEC in your mind?
Well, I think they're virtually tied. It's just a matter of what metric and what category you value the most, because national titles, sure, the Big Ten has 3 in a row. In playoff appearances, it'd be the SEC. In head-to-head, I believe it'd be the SEC. I got to double-check that. Draft picks, SEC every year, recruiting SEC, but it is tight. And I will say this, doing all 4 Power 4 leagues in the magazine, I'm tracking thousands of transfers. You see them flowing in one direction. It's all the best players moving up to the Big Ten and moving up to the SEC, never in the other direction. It's very notable. You never see all SEC or all Big Ten guys moving down to the ACC or Big 12 or below. So that kind of says it there. You look at the TV deals, the coaching salaries, everything. So that's all towards those two. I'll say they're tied. I know it's a cop-out answer, but they are the big two. It's certainly divided.
All right, this is terrific. You can go to pick6previews.com right now to order your 2026 preview magazine. Also check out Pick 6 Plus, which is everything that you could possibly want. 68 team pages. You get, prior week game results from all Power 4 games. You also get score, ATS, game grader, and advanced stats. You get week previews for all Power 4 games. It's all right there, Pick 6 Plus. I tell you what, Brett, I love your preview magazine, but I am pumped up for Pick 6 Plus. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah, you're going to love it. It's like having the magazine with you updated every Tuesday, get you caught up for the games coming up and, picks, projections, all that kind of good stuff. And, yeah, I appreciate it, Chad. And I was looking forward to this interview, knowing I had Oregon at the top this year. We'll catch up again either before the season or during, because we got to be tracking. I'm calling it the year of the duck.
Well, I tell you what, there's a lot of people driving around in their car right now smiling because you just made their day, Brett Ciancia.
There we go. Well, I hope they prove me right on the field.
All right, you got it, buddy. I appreciate your time. Keep killing it, man. You're crushing it, Brett.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 Previews. Go check out his site right now, pick6previews.com. We'll come back. We will take your phone calls, And we'll have more with Liam here on the Rip City Drive. I appreciate your time. And we'll do a bonus segment coming up at 6 o'clock with the crew from the Hillsboro Hops as they get ready for action tonight. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive. Big thanks to Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews. Phil Steele will join the show on Friday. Liam is hanging out with me today, which has been a lot of fun. Your telephone number is 503-248-0620. Let's go out to the phones. Mitch has been holding on. Mitch in New Jersey. Mitch, I appreciate the call, buddy. What is on your mind?
What's popping here?
What's up, brother?
Chad, how you doing?
Very well.
Yeah, things all right. Hey, I can't get a hold of anybody on Twitter. I got hacked because I made up another Twitter name handle.
You got hacked?
And I can't. Yeah, I got hacked.
Huh.
The chat room in the Sacramento 1320 told me about it. Couldn't believe it. Why would they do that?
I have no idea.
What's the game?
What's your new Twitter handle?
I think it's Wayne Mitty Mulholland at Wayne Calabasas. But you can send me a message, but I can't respond to anybody. I belong to this encrypto group that got through these guys that were all calling ESPN Radio with Clinton Yates. But he was too good, so they let him go, fire him. You know, great guy, clean. I'm sure you know him. I can only those two groups. I can only get in touch with those guys, so I can't send anybody a message, good or bad. I feel like Gilligan on Gilligan's Island, and what these guys did to me, they sent me a picture of my face with Gilligan's body with Marianne and Ginger. It cracks me up. Otherwise, I'm going insane. Twitter doesn't answer me, or I talked to somebody in chat. They want $50 to talk. Another one was something like $6 a month. For what? I didn't do this. I didn't create this mess. I swear to God.
I love it.
It's incredible. Yeah. Hey, by the way,
by the way, Mitch, for the record, I would not mind being stranded on an island with Ginger and Marianne.
That is heaven, right?
Yes.
And how did Professor always have everything? Professor, not the Professor, the rich couple. They had everything. How much stuff did they bring in his boat?
That's a good question. I don't know, but it seems like they had quite a bit.
Anything they needed, they had, except the way to get out. You didn't believe you talking Gilligan's Island, right? You know that when you pick up the phone. By the way, I was going to say Oregon has 1,000 uniforms, 0 championship. I love it. Says it's a surprise team. It's not a surprise to me. USC has a lot of talent. They had a recruiting class. You'll be seeing quite a few freshmen get some playing time.
Are you calling your shot right now? Are you calling your shot USC is going to win the national title?
They're going to be in the playoffs, be in the top 4. They have a good chance to win they have a good chance of winning it all. Well, I should say, all right, they're going to win it all. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. The best quarterback in the Big Ten is Dante Moore, and he didn't want to play for the Jets, so he went back. But I got Jaden Mayowa is second best in the country. Those two quarterbacks are top 2 in the whole country, I think.
Well, the only problem, Mitch, is that when USC wins the title, you won't be able to tweet about it because you got hacked.
It's unbelievable. It's like I'm a criminal. I'm insulted. I swear, Facebook's okay, but it's just mostly dogs and my retirees. You know, I had to retire. I think I retired soon. Monkey see, monkey do. What a nincompoop. I didn't know my medical insurance go 3 times, but who cares? I'm almost there, ready, right? And one more thing, LeBron. Everybody keeps saying LeBron's 6 rings. He didn't want to play with the Knicks, which I thought was kind of funny. I think they're favored to win it this year. To repeat, that was a great run, great games. Those Villanova boys took it to San Antonio. Goliath, David beat Goliath. But what can't you say that Philadelphia's chasing a ring? They had 2 guards, including Simmons, right, to back up B.J. Edgecombe and Maxey. Those are 2 up-and-coming superstars. And plus, Jaylen Brown, they gave him Paul George and a couple of first-round picks in the future. I don't know if it's this century or the next century. But they got over him, boys, which is great in my book. And Embiid's a Hall of Fame. If he can just stay healthy, that is some starting 5. We got 2 good guards in the back there. I'm only be worried about who plays center to give Embiid a rest. I love to see. I love to see LeBron play center because I think it beat most centers in the league anyway.
I'd love to see that too, Mitch. I appreciate the call. Liam, you were telling me that you don't like the LeBron slander, so I'll let you have the final say on Bron. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, just the ring chasing narrative. Like I was saying earlier, he left the Cavs for a Heat team that hadn't won a playoff series in 4 years. Went back to the Cavs, they hadn't had a winning record in 4 years. to the Lakers, hadn't have a winning record in 4 years. And now he's going to the Sixers, who, they snuck in the playoffs last season, but they haven't made it past the second round in over 20 years and haven't been in the finals in over 40 years. So I think this narrative of ring chasing, one, is false, and two, I think that's what you want to do as an athlete is you want to win. So I think to slander a guy for wanting to win. I mean, the NBA, people have been building super teams since the early 2000s. Like you look at the Magic when they brought in T-Mac and they tried to bring in Tim Duncan too. Then you look at the Warriors when they brought in like Carmelo, or not the Warriors, the Lakers when they brought in like Malone and stuff. Like this stuff's been happening. It's not new, but people hate on it because it's LeBron doing it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's because it's LeBron. And you also have, I think you have two strong groups. You have Team MJ, Team LeBron, and those two sides are going to continue to battle. And it's one of those discussions that's pointless because there's nothing anyone could say to change my mind that MJ is the greatest of all time. And for the people that are on the LeBron camp, there's nothing that can be said to them to get them to change their mind that LeBron's the greatest of all time. So you're going to have those two groups battling forever. That's just the way it's going to be.
And
until all of the MJ fans die off, and then it's all LeBron fans, and then they can control the narrative.
Right.
Well, Liam, I appreciate you coming in studio today, man. I hope you enjoyed it, but you did a great job of contributing to the show, and I enjoyed your time and conversation immensely. Nice work.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Big thanks to Brendan Slaughter for engineering the program. We'll come back for a bonus segment, and we'll talk to the Hops broadcast crew as they get ready for some baseball tonight. But I appreciate your time. Big thanks to Colin Amos. We had a conversation with Edan Krolewicz from Rip City, not Rip Off. And, of course, Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews. You guys have a good night. All right, coming up tonight, first pitch at 6:35, the Hillsboro Hops getting ready to take on Everett. And the pregame show will start at 6:20. And joining us right now, Rich and Matt, who are part of your Hillsboro Hops broadcast team. Fellas, welcome to the show. What's up?
Howdy, Chad.
Great to talk to you.
Yeah, good to be with you.
Yeah, it's great. I'm telling you what, I'm loving this weather right now. It's great baseball weather, great golfing weather, man. We are in the heart of summertime. I'm down.
It's a little bit different than it was 7 days ago, isn't it? I remember it was so hot and steamy, un-Northwest-like weather. We felt like we were doing a game from Birmingham, Alabama or somewhere like that. And thankfully, a few days later, our Northwest weather returned.
Yeah, no doubt. And, of course, when I talked to you guys last, the Hops were going through a bit of a rough patch. But over the last week or so, it's starting to turn things around again.
I would say so. The issue is the youth. It's a double-edged sword. The Hops have more youthful prospects on their team than any other team in this league, and then they have ever had, even at the short season A-ball level. They have 6 position players that are 20 years old. And the average age for position player in this league's a little more than 22. And so they're quite young. A lot's expected of them, but they've had some growing pains.
Hey, Rich, have you talked to the coaching staff? Like, is there a difference in the way they approach things when you have such a young group of players?
No, I don't think so. I think they're just going through their daily process. You agree with that, Matt?
Oh, I don't think there would be any significant adjustment to other than maybe policing that they're not drinking alcohol on the bus or something like that. I don't think there's any real change in approach.
That's terrific. It is Matt Rickard and Rich Burke with us as they get ready for some baseball tonight. The Hillsboro Hops going to take on Everett. First pitch is coming up at 6:35. So what are you guys looking for in this homestand?
Well, more wins. We split a series against Vancouver in the series that ended on Sunday, and now Everett comes to town, and they play in a tiny ballpark, and it's going to only be in existence a couple of more years. It's basically a high school field. It's only 355 to straightaway center. Now, granted, the fence is 20 feet high out there. I liken it to arena baseball. Everything is just more compacted, and so they usually lead the league in a lot of offensive categories, and that's no different this year. But, Matt, they truly do have some players who can hit.
Well, if you look at the numbers, their home run hitters are hitting just as many home runs on the road as they are at home. So, although there are a lot of, particularly right field up there in Everett, 330 to the right field power alley. That's where the cheap home runs usually land in the netting beyond that right field fence. And a couple of those cost the Hops on their last trip up there. However, they came away with 4 wins out of 6. It's been a really entertaining series between these two teams this year. It's been split right down the middle, 9 wins, 9 losses for the Hops.
And, Chad, by the way, this is the Mariners affiliate, and so a lot of times they do get Seattle Mariners there on injury rehab assignments. Matter of fact, Brendan Donovan just completed a rehab assignment with them on Sunday, and that's by far from the only one that has been there and done that this year.
Yeah, I know. I've got a few friends. They love to come out because they like to pay attention to the young prospects who are going to eventually be getting time with the Mariners at the big league level.
Yeah, and a couple of those who you might see there at some point is Carlos Jimenez, who's making a run for the MVP of the Northwest League this year, 3rd in the league in hitting and 7th in the league in home runs, 3rd in runs batted in. He's a little bit older for a player in this league. He's 23 years old. He'll turn 24 in February. And Matt, they got a new player, Corbin Dickerson, who just joined them among a trio of players that joined them just last week.
Yeah, 3 new offensive players. I was chatting with their broadcast voice, Pat Dillon, who I believe is now the dean of broadcasters on our circuit. Outstanding broadcaster up there in Everett for many years. He said it's been pretty much a push production-wise. They lost some top Mariners talent, guys like Johnny Farmello, Felnine Celestin, who was leading the league in batting before his promotion. But Dickerson has come in and contributed right away with a couple of home runs. He's hitting .385 in a short stint at Everett. Aiden Tarek, former St. Mary's Gale, also in the outfield tonight. He'll be playing left field, kind of undersized, but a good bat-to-ball guy. Both Dickerson and Tarek run pretty well. And then Ricardo Cova, kind of a utility man. He'll get the start at second base tonight. All have come in to replace the departed prospects, and all have made contributions right off the bat.
How long have you guys been calling baseball games, Matt and Rich?
Well, together since 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know Matt had called his share of baseball before that, and as had I.
Rich, where did you get your start in baseball?
1994 Bend Rockies. Actually, before then, 1988. I was right out of college, and my baseball coach at Pacific in Forest Grove, Chuck Pafero, knew the owner of the then Bend Bucks. They were an Angels affiliate at the time, and he knew I wanted to get into this, and so he introduced me to that owner, a man named Jack Kane, who you know well.
Yes.
And so I went to work in 1988 as the number 2 broadcaster and administrative assistant for the team in Bend. And it was a really small operation. There were the owners, Jack and Mary Kane, their son Bob, the general manager, a guy by the name of Bob Hards, and me. And that was it. We did everything. And it was a blast. And Chad, I've told you this before, I was terrible. I had no idea what I was doing. It was the worst play-by-play you've ever heard in your life. And then at that point, I was getting married a year after that and wanted to stay in sports, but didn't want to have to move around like a play-by-play announcer has to do. And so I went to work for the professional golfer, Peter Jacobson, and his event management company. Did the Fred Meyer Challenge Golf Tournament. And I stayed there for 4.5 years. And then at that point, my wife and I decided, okay, if I'm ever going to do this, now's the time. And so then I sent out 75 cassette tapes and ended up going to the baseball winter meetings, met with people there. Turned out Jack had a job opening this time for a number 1 announcer back in Bend. And I'd gotten better during the 5-year interim. I went back there in 1994, this time as the number 1 announcer. And then the next year, the team moved to Portland. And I've been there ever since and haven't left. And Matt and I have been working together for, coming up on maybe 15 years pretty soon.
That's so good. Matt, where'd you get your start?
Well, I had the good fortune of growing up in a radio family. My father, Stephen, was the program director at KELA KMNT in Lewis County, Washington for over 30 years. Wow. And so I basically grew up around a radio station. I started helping out on broadcast. I think I was 9 years old, doing stats for high school basketball district tournament playoff game. I think it was in Onalaska. It was Toledo versus Kalama, as I recall. And a couple years later, I started talking on the air, just giving like halftime post-game stat recaps, doing that for basketball and football every week. For Jim Cook was the lead play-by-play broadcaster and the news director at that time. Really good play-by-play guy. And high school sports, very big time where I grew up in Southwest Washington. And come basketball tournament time, the district tournaments were a big deal, and they would broadcast wall-to-wall games. They would stick as many games on as they possibly could on their full-service AM station or country FM station. By the time I was in high school, I was doing some color commentary on those basketball playoff games, and then made my play-by-play debut freshman year of college.
So, Matt, I got to ask, you're 9 years old, you're doing stats. You say a couple of years later, they started letting you do halftime scores and such. Maybe you were 11. Do you have the tape?
Oh, I've got tapes buried in boxes somewhere.
I want to hear the tape of 11-year-old Matt Rickard.
So do I. Yes.
Yeah. I bet it
was somewhere next to my on-the-spot videotape.
Maybe. Yeah, right. Matt won a game show back in the day. I bet your 11-year-old tape probably sounded better than mine, a 19-year-old baseball player.
Well, I'll tell you this. My first real professional gig outside of my dad's radio station was up in Ciancia County, Washington, 1998-99, and I still sounded barely like I was older than 11 years old. So my voice is, with age and whiskey, my voice has gotten to a passable point, I think.
At least it's not cigarettes like Joel Myers.
I didn't mention the cigarettes. I gave up the cigarettes a few years ago. But
you mean you did that?
Oh, you didn't know I smoked?
No.
I've told you that before. You've forgotten.
That's
Okay.
great. Everyone,
Oh, you should, Chad. You should have seen the look he just gave me.
No. I'm trying to calculate why his voice is so
He had
good
this
now.
look of total disgust on his face.
No, just more disbelief than anything else.
that's so great. And I do love Joel Meyer's voice. But, Rich, I've always wondered, I wanted to ask you, what's the process like to go from radio to TV? And is it difficult to make that transition because it's not the same call?
It's easier than going the other way. I think if you're on radio, you have to paint the picture.
Yes.
I like both media. On TV, I like the big show aspect of it. You've got a lot of people relying on you. It's basically up to the producer and the play-by-play announcer. And if you're doing a big show and there's 25 people and you're doing an open and you mess it up, there's a lot of people that aren't happy with you. I kind of like having that on my shoulders. At the same time, radio, you have to be more descriptive. And on TV, you can pay attention to the game and not really listen to the announcers. On radio, the only way you can pay attention to the game is by listening to the announcers.
Yes.
So the audience is much smaller on radio, but they're, in many cases, more engaged. And so I like both. And I would just say on TV, you have to, there's less description. You say less. Let it breathe a little bit more.
It's great, too. Like, the people that you've had a chance to work with, whether it was Jack and Mary or now with Kale and the Hops, like, part of this business, what makes it so much fun is the people you're connected with, but you've had a chance to work with some great people.
Isn't that the truth?
Man.
Yeah, a little inside information for you, Chad. You may not know this, but when I was working out on the coast at the New Northwest Broadcasters, or cluster stations there in Astoria, I was the sports director, and we were putting high school games on 4 different radio stations at one point. So I needed to hire additional announcers. One of those announcers was a young man by the name of Travis Demers, who had just moved out here from the East Coast.
So the job, I knew he moved out for a high school job, so that was for you then, that job.
He was doing those games at the same time that he was working at the Fan.
Yes, that's great. Man, I love it. In broadcasting.
Jason Puckett was another one.
Jason Puckett. I do know him, yeah. I just saw him up in Seattle a few weeks ago, so that's great. Everyone's got a story that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's amazing. There have been some good young broadcasters that have some ties to the Portland area. He just mentioned Travis Demers, of course.
Yep.
John Strong is